And with that, welcome inside this Monday Coaches Press Conference edition of Big Ten Live. I'm your host, Rick Pizzo. Hard to believe that we are already a month into the Big Ten season, as Week 4 offered plenty of intrigue, drama, and overtime. We'll hear about those games and some Week 5 matchups coming up as we hear from a handful of coaches over the next 3 hours. Jim Harbaugh and Harlon Barnett speaking to us from the Mitten State. Ryan Walters, PJ Fleck, and Matt Rhule also on the menu for the Monday press conference show. Tom Allen, Greg Schiano, David Braun, Bret, Bielema. All those men we will hear from coming up over the course of the next 3 hours here on the Big Ten Network. We start with Michigan. Jim Harbaugh returned to the sidelines after the school-imposed 3-game suspension saw his team beat Rutgers 31-7, gave up one early touchdown and then allowed just 122 yards and 6 first downs after the first quarter, scoring the last 31 points of the game to remain unbeaten on the year. It was Michigan's first conference game of the year. This weekend, it'll be the first road conference game of the year and road game overall for the Wolverines as they head to Lincoln to take on Nebraska. We take you to Ann Arbor. Here's Jim Harbaugh looking back and looking ahead to what's in store for the Wolverines.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best plays in football, and it's very effective when it's implemented correctly. You know, whether it's the double option or the triple option. That was my hero growing up, Rick Leach. Watching him as a young fan and quarterback, that was the guy that I tried to be like.
All right, here, Dennis.
Jim, the way these games are clicking by with the new rules, do you have to do things differently as a coach, calculations and things like that?
It just becomes more about possessions, right? I mean, it's possessions, 9/10 of the law. We had 7 in this past game. The 8th would have been Mike Samerstill's interception. We put points on the board, which we love. But yeah, I mean, points per possession, ball control, time of possession, those and turnovers become even more of a factor in the game.
I knew you were on the sideline this week, but on the commentary they were talking about zone blocking and power. Have you always had that part of zone blocking since you've been the coach, and how do you think this group is doing at it?
Good. Zone blocking, gap schemes, counters. There's insert plays. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat. But staples are zone blocking and gap blocking.
On the left, Bob.
Jim, do you find that you learn a lot more about your team in its first road game? And do you wonder how a team's ever going to react to its first road game of the year?
The preparation is just much like anything, getting good at football. I mean, pack a good football team to go on the road. That's especially the defense. Make sure you got your defense packed. Don't leave them at home.
On the left, John.
As you've said before, it's a little tough to see sometimes down on the sideline. Can you talk about maybe Samerstill's interception that you might have seen later at a better angle and the kind of leading that he's done so far?
Yeah. So the play on the field, I lost where the ball was. First thought it was on the ground. He was just scooping it up. Could have been a fumble, and our guys are trained in practice. If the ball's ever on the ground, we're hopping on that mistake or trying to pick it up and advance it. Even on incompleted passes in practice, our guys are picking them up. Mikey, it was an incredible play. When I got to see it from the different angles, the way he kept his feet. First, the ball skills, which he has tremendous ball skills. The athleticism, the balance. I mean, we do the slack block control. He's really good at it. Cornelius Johnson's really good at it. You saw Cornelius show up in the Ohio State game last year when he was, normal, average athlete, human being, would have fallen down. Same thing with Mike. They would have been on the ground, but for him to stay up and then get into making the moves he did and then take it back to the crib, as the young people like to say, that was just a beautiful, beautiful thing. His leadership, it's constant. He just affects everybody he comes in contact with in a positive way. I'm sure you see the same thing that we do. Loved by the players, loved by the coaches, and it's great to see him. He's already a Michigan legend, right? And to see him continuing to add to that, it's just a beautiful thing. Wonderful, wonderful thing.
On the left, Tony.
Yeah, Jim, when you go into a game, you see Nebraska's ranked number 1 against the run statistically. I guess, what does that do for the game plan? Do you lean into that? Do you think, okay, maybe we got to do other things, or do you continue to play your style?
Yeah, it's just the planning of it, and recognizing, how they're doing that. They're good, and they're really good at playing multiple fronts, multiple schemes. So going to be an important week of planning and preparation, and then we'll go compete and try to execute to the best of our ability.
That rush game, it looks pretty similarly successful on the other side. I think they're 6th in the country.
It's a great formula. Stopping the run and being able to run the ball is a winning formula in football. And we're just gonna have to play good. It will be a game of blocking, tackling, focusing on fundamentals, reads, getting off blocks, defeating blocks, playing the assignment, being in the right alignment, being in the right technique. A lot of focus on real football fundamentals and technique.
On the left, Chris.
I think a lot of people saw DJ Waller, at least some people, as a safety. When did you know that he could play corner, and what have you seen from him since he's gotten here and to now? Yeah,
he's been a freshman that has really been doing well, and you see tremendous upside. Already been freshman of the game at least once, maybe twice. Length, physicality, speed, athleticism, all the good traits. And he likes football too, so he's getting coached really well, getting really great training from Coach Klink, and long corners, athletic, length. It's really good for the position.
When you saw him in high school, did you think, hey, this kid could be a corner at this level?
I think my first impression was he's an edge. He might be an edge guy. He just looked big to me, and tall, and I like long, athletic, as everybody does, edge players. But yeah, we saw the basketball traits and things, then wow, that's a great thing. And you see that length sometimes in receivers and in DBs. Could be edge players, could be really good receivers, could be really good DBs.
On the left, Isaiah.
Length is a good thing. Length and athleticism.
After the game, like Orman,
Those are blessings from Mom, Dad, and God.
I didn't get any of those.
Other blessings.
Yeah. After the game, Blake Horneman noted that the offense is still a work in progress, trying to get to the point where they want to be. What have you seen from the offensive side of the ball, and how long do you feel like it kind of takes in season to kind of for
an offense to kind of hit its stride?
Well, coming out of this game, to be able to win, to be pretty darn healthy too. I mean, those are great things. And then for everybody to play well and execute, and then still have things to lean into, to learn from. But to a man, I thought there was some really good things. Whether it was the running game, the passing game, the quarterbacking was at an AP high level. Roman, the receivers continued to excel. Samaj, Colson had his best game. There were so many. AJ Barner, I thought, played extremely well. Max Bredesen, had one of his best games. The line was really good. Keegan Zinter, they probably graded out the highest, but there was, every Miles Hinton, Barnhart, and they had some great plays, and there was a lot more plays this week, probably triple from the BG game, where all 11 were doing what they were supposed to do and doing it at a really high level, in sync type of level. So just keep trying to build on that. But also, I thought it was Sharon Moore's one of Coach Moore's best games. The planning, the play calling, the balance, the creativity, the timely calls, just everything. One of his very best, a real gem, and the rest of the offensive staff as well. But I thought particularly play calling was outstanding.
On the left, Sean.
Jim, what specifically about JJ's play makes you say it was AP? And do you think it made a difference having you back? Because after the first game, he talked about how much he missed your vibe. I think was the word he used on the sideline.
My what?
Your vibe.
Vibe?
He talked about how much he
good
missed
vibe.
your vibe. And I'm curious if you felt that your relationship being back together on the sideline.
Man, it's not going to argue with that one. I hope that's the case, and hopefully agree. But I mean, he's been good ever since he got here. One of those kind of freshmen that's just good right away and contributing right away, and from the first practice, I mean, the presence that he walked out, and it's just been that way ever since. This was one of his best games. There was when I say AP quarterbacking, the shot play was being defended, and he kicks it out in the flat, and we get a nice game to Donovan Edwards. There's another really good play. It was similar to the ECU game, where we're running a flat corner combination, and in the ECU game, I mean, JJ made that throw in there that was right on the money into a tight window. I think you probably may remember that one. Similar play in this game, and CJ's running the route, and the corner was baiting JJ. Had seen that play on film, and you could just see that he was, and he's doing a great job of baiting him into that throw. But he was moving to intercept that ball. JJ just kicked it out to AJ Barner, who was in the flat on the sideline. Might have been a 6-yard gain, might have been an 8-yard gain. There was a play where multiple times people were covered. There was nobody open, and he brought the ball down, ran it. There was another play where they were covered. He started to get pressure. He stepped up, threw the ball away, and then the very next play came back and threw a touchdown pass. If I'm remembering that sequence right, which I think I am. Quick hands on the decision on the option, the two-way option, handoff or run himself, and big gains, big third down conversions by running and throwing. big plays by running and throwing. He was sharp, just a really, really sharp game. Yeah, maybe one other thing to say about it, but it just jumped out of my mind.
All right, John.
Jim, you touched on this a little bit earlier and even post-game of last week, but Samaj Morgan said after the game that he enjoys terrorizing defensive backs. Is that something that's kind of been a build-up, or did he come in from day one with that mentality?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how he described it. He had to be feeling good, right? I mean, he had to be just I know the Erica Morgan mom and dad, I mean, the buttons are popping on the shirt. I mean, they're so proud, and we're so proud of Samaj. And I thought the catch and run that he made earlier in the game was really good too. He's got a knack for that. So I think, yeah, I mean, I'm with it, you know, as young people like to say as well. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep doing, like to say, keep doing you. You know, it's working. And if you want to get a little bit better at something, just work a little bit harder at it. And whatever you do, don't get a big head. That's a trap, a deep, dark, lonely trap. And then just keep playing in that confident manner. You know, courageous, never careless. But you know, I think that was a great step for him, and he's really proven to be one of those type of freshmen that can come right in and start playing. Kickoff return too. Some of the return game I think could be really good at. But yeah, just keep going, keep doing you, Samaj. My message would be.
Got time for a few more. We'll stay on the left. Austin.
Jim, Olu kind of made it look easy last year, but how difficult is it for a transfer to come in and play right away on the offensive line, given how interconnected that position is?
Yeah, Olu, you know, did make it look that way. I mean, Drake's Nugent's come in with the same kind of mentality, and you know, really, gosh, they're both. I can't even compare them. I mean, they're that close in being good. You know, Drake probably a little bit more athletic. Yeah, now I'm beginning comparing, but Olu a little bit. Sometimes, you know, he was. But they're both. I mean, they're both good. They get it done in just slightly different ways, but they both play at the really, really high level and smart. I mean, Olu is smart as you could have a guy, you know, playing football, and so is Drake. So, you know, I'm sure it's a lot harder than they're making it look to come in as a transfer and play center. But, you know, the good ones, the great ones, that's what they do. They make it look easy. And they're same quality. They're both making it look easy.
On the right, Connor.
Jim, did you have a chance to watch Ohio State and Notre Dame on Saturday night? And if so, what did you learn about them?
Yeah, I did. I was watching. My wife got this YouTube TV. It's like half the price of DirecTV. No offense, DirecTV, but we're over there at YouTube TV now, and I mean, there's must be 150 games to watch. So you know, I'm in hog heaven on a Saturday night watching those games, watching a lot of them, and then you can go back and watch them again. If you didn't watch the one, you can. It's like taped for you right there. So yeah, I don't know if I learned anything, but you know, just bouncing around watching a lot of football.
Last question, Angelique.
Jim, how would you assess where Donovan Edwards' run game, where he is in terms of the run game?
He's good. He's good. You know, like he's always been, and you know, we play multiple backs. You know, statistics really don't mean anything to us. And when it comes to all the players, I mean, it's what's good for them individually what's good as a team. I see it from the individual and the big picture with the team. But each individual guy, I treat that like I'm, their dad, their agent. I want what's best for their career. So in the running back position, make a long story short here, I just don't believe in a guy carrying the ball 30 times a game. They probably may not have some of the stats that some of the other backs have. I mean, even Blake, running the ball really good, 97 yards. We took him out of the game because I don't think he needs another 100-yard game as much as needs to be healthy. And but the lifespan of a back, their career is, I don't know what it is on average, maybe 8, 9, 10 years total, including college. So while they're not getting paid, I don't like to take the tread off the tire. Like to keep that tread on the tire. So there's going to be games where one back may be featured more than another. That's kind of how it's been here. If you look at last year, look at the year before, look at the year before that, all 8 years that we've been here. So we'll probably have this conversation again. Like next week, Dono, carries more of the load, and you might ask me what happened with Blake. Blake had a heck of a game. Dono had less carries, but really affected the game, catching the football. He's an outstanding back because he can do all the things. He can run outside the tackles. He can run inside the tackles. He can pass protect, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield and get open. So, answer your question, absolutely nothing wrong with Donovan Edwards. Also was cool. Just talk about you're just not into stats. Your offensive coordinator is not into, how many points we score or the yardage. You got the ball with 6 minutes or so left in the game, and if you don't turn it over, you're going to win the game. Even if you don't make a first down and you punt and get the ball back and don't get a first down again, you're going to win the game if you don't turn the ball over. And then to watch us, keep the ball. That's why it warmed the cockles of the heart that we can do that in that situation. Plus, we got an offensive coordinator and we got a play caller that's about the team and making sure that the team wins. And then Khalil Mullins, I took Dono. I didn't want Dono in there anymore. And I didn't want Blake Corum in there anymore. And then Khalil Mullins goes in, and just the vision that I have for one of those backs being a big back. He was really going. I was reminded of Toby Gerhardt watching Khalil on those carries, and I hope that continues. So that's pretty much the running back room right now, and absolutely nothing wrong with the running back room.
I have one more quick one. Did you get enough? Did you see enough in the games to determine who your backup quarterback is?
It's still real close. No, we haven't been able to make a definitive, and it'll be pretty much week to week because they're so close still. But
All right. Thank you very much. We'll bring in
So Michigan is set to leave Ann Arbor, hitting the road for the first time this season as Michigan heads to Lincoln. It'll be the Wolverines and Cornhuskers. That's a mid-afternoon game coming your way this Saturday on Fox. And so the Wolverines are unbeaten. Meanwhile, their rivals from down the road in East Lansing stuck in a really tough spot. A lot of things still to figure out with Mel Tucker's. It appears impending termination and the notification from Michigan State that they intend to do that sooner rather than later. Harlon Barnett took over before the Washington game. A couple of tough opponents in Washington and Maryland back-to-back. Spartans have lost both games, giving up 72 points combined in those two losses. To East Lansing we go. Here is MSU interim head coach Harlon Barnett.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out today. We have a big challenge this weekend versus Iowa. Second Big Ten game, first road game of the year. So excited about going on the road and a challenging environment and playing our best football. So every week we're trying to play our best football. So here's another opportunity to do just that. Any questions?
I was wondering, is there anything you take away from, you guys saw Cade McNamara 2 years ago here, so I know completely different teams and all that, but just from having faced him before, is there any carryover?
Not. Well, the offenses are different. You can just watch how he throws the ball and those type of things, but the talent around him is different guys, it's just different people. So other than watching his mechanics of throwing and all that, not a whole lot to get out of that, if I'm honest with you. So that's the feeling on that. Yeah, good player.
We just saw you at 7 o'clock Saturday, but what have you learned about that game and your team in the last 41 hours?
So we talked about today, Jack, about the penalties. So went from 11 to 6, okay? So we showed those. Then we talked about the missed opportunities. We had some missed opportunities to make plays, offense, defense, and special teams. Then the last thing, and then positively, we said things we can build on. So things that we did well and we can build on, and that's what we watched today. So we're close. We're very, very close. And I told them after practice today, I really like this team. They just keep moving forward. They were energized today at practice. They were running, guys, not talking about, other things outside of football, just locked in on what we have to do for football-wise.
What were some of those things you saw that you can build on and want to?
Good. So interception, Angelo Gross got an interception. That's something to build on, and that's 2 interceptions in a row, just thinking positively. The week before, Jaden Mangum had an interception. We showed where we were one block away from a huge kickoff return. And it was there. Building on the pass Jerron Glover caught from Noah down the middle, that was an explosive play. They can build on that. He put it on target a lot of times, and we were making plays. So those type of things like that. We had a punt that had great hang time, and we had great coverage. He had the fair catch. So you can build on those type of things. And so our guys see it. We're right there. We're sowing. We keep sowing seeds. It's time for us to reap. We're going to reap here soon.
Hey, Harlon. Excuse me. I have a 2-part question, so bear with me for a second. You talked about after the game, the conversation with the team about being all in and what they said. We were just with JD, and he talked about that. I want to take you back in time a little bit to your '87 team that happened to be, at this time in the season, you guys were 2-2 after a win over Iowa. So do you have any memory of what that experience was like right around that time where you're on the cusp? And secondly, JD talked about how these guys want to really win a game for you, and what does that mean too?
Oh, so first of all, playing up at Iowa in '87, the first thing that comes to my mind thinking about that, I remember us talking about, it was a noon game. It's crazy, I remember all this, a noon game. Because we talked about how the sun came up over the stadium at noon, right around noon. So when the punt happened, we wanted to get the ball to punt it a certain way. I remember all of that, and it could get in the guy's eyes and fumble. So y'all check me on this. We punted the ball to them the direction we wanted at the time it was, and he fumbled, he muffed the ball, and we got the ball. Check me on that. I remember that very vividly. So that's what I remember about going up to Iowa to play my very first time up there playing. Really, really great place to play, great venue. As far as JD saying winning for me, I want us to win for Spartan Nation. We all win for each other, and that's, I appreciate it, but it's not about me, and it never will be. It's not about me. It's about us, and that's how it always will be. Mm-hmm.
Harlan, you've had home cooking here for 4 straight weeks. Can a road trip, especially under the circumstances, galvanize a team at all?
I think so. Not that we're preaching that, but I think so, Fred, because It's all we have is all we got right here. You know, we can come together closer. We flying up, you know, all on bus rides, then getting on the plane together. We're closer longer, if that makes sense. We're together around each other in a more intimate fashion on the road than you are a lot of times when you're at home. And so excited about this trip, this road trip to a very hostile environment. I told them, though, it's still 11 on 11. I mean, the fans are out there, but it's still 11 on, they're not playing. All right, so if you don't get caught up in that, then you're good. I always used to love to play on the road personally. So it should be a lot of fun, and we enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy Big Ten football for what it is. It's a one-time deal, meaning to play it, I know 4 or 5 years you can play, but it's a one-time, lifetime experience of playing college football. Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
I'm also wondering, you know, the shock of a coach leaving is kind of old news to the players now, isn't it? I mean, do you sense they're still adjusting to new leadership, or is that in the past?
I think it's in the past. You all heard JD up here, I think, earlier today, and you see them. That's how they all are. They've all accepted what it is for what it is, and have moved on and ready to go out and compete. And that's why I'm excited about this team. I told them today I love this team. I love this team. You know, guys could have said, I'm shutting it down, I'm done, and we haven't had any of that. And so I said, y'all are true Spartan dogs. That's what I told them today. That's y'all keep fighting through, keep pushing, and it's going to turn. This thing is going to turn.
Harlon, you talked about some of the positives from Saturday's game. I was wondering, you know, defensively, specifically in the second half, you know, getting down 21-0, you know, the turnovers that put the defense in a bad situation. I guess more specifically what you saw defensively to build on, and you know, going to Iowa where they had 76 yards, I believe, against Penn State.
I saw a group of guys that started believing that, hey, we do have a good defense. They knew it at one time, but, you know, then got a little setback, I think, in their own minds. But as they kept playing on Saturday, they said, hey, we do have a good defense. I kept telling them when they came back from the sideline in the second half, I said, that's defense. That's defense. I just kept saying that. No, that's defense. We playing great defense. First, second down, third down, getting off the field. That's defense. And so they were excited about that, and still want to finish the game. Got to finish, but that is definitely something to build on.
Harlon, over here. You played all three quarterbacks in the game, and I'm wondering when you looked at the film of those three guys, what did you see, and did what you see impact anything in terms of your plan for this week with those three guys?
No, we're going to stick with how we have it right now with Noah being our quarterback. You know, you see the glaring things, the interceptions, but he put some balls on the money, man, where guys got to make those plays. And I like the nice run. I like him running a little bit personally. That's just me. All right, but we'll see if that can happen because he's fast. You know, so he can put pressure on the defense running the football as well. And then Caden came in and did his job and did what we asked him to do and try to come in and help us. And I thought it was good is to get Sam in there and get some minutes and get a feel. So, but right now we're going to be status quo. If that changes, we'll let you guys know.
There's been a lot of conversation about Jordan Hall and his leadership. For a true freshman to be able to step up and lead in that way during this time, what can you say about him and just maybe how he's been such a pivotal force in this?
That's who he is. Like, so he was a 3-time captain at IMG. Just think about that. He was a 3-time captain at IMG. That's where all the stars go, right? And they all play down there. He's a leader. He's a natural-born leader, extremely intelligent. He understands. He cares, and that's what it is. That's what it is for him. That's just who he is as a person, a natural leader, and that doesn't mind speaking up, saying the right things and doing the right things. So we're excited that he's here with us and on our team and playing for us. You know, he did a good job out there as a true freshman playing on Saturday, and so did Chance Rucker as well. Very important. It'll be his first time, and like, you know, that's why I keep saying, I'm going to keep saying it's 11 on 11. It's 11 on 11 because it's going to be a night game up there. They have a great fan base. They do a great job with the crowd noise and all that kind of stuff, and just stay focused on 11 on 11. I think he can, but still it's a first time experience going there. So you you look around a little bit, and then you got to be locked in and focused and go get the job done.
Harlan, Iowa's offense for a couple years has been struggling to score points. I'm just wondering where you sort of see maybe where some of their issues are, I guess, as far as you can go there. And also, just part of your message or your thinking this week, like, don't let us be the one that lets them heat up, or, do you see them on the cusp of turning a corner or making sure that, we're not the team they turn a corner on type of thing?
I got you. First, I'm never going to tell you what I think their issues are. I don't know. They don't have issues. They're really, really good, right? But no, seriously, Coach Ferentz, who I know from back in Cleveland Brown days, is a great dude, great coach, great offensive line coach, and they pride themselves on running the football. And so we're going to have to be able to, stop the run. This is every week, stop the run, and then also control the passing game. We're going to put together a plan that we hope will allow us to do just that. You know what I mean? So we know they're a tough team, especially at home, and don't pay attention to what you've seen in the past. Each game is a new game and has a life of its own. So we're taking them very, very seriously. The last time we were up there, we got our butts kicked. So we're taking them very, very seriously.
I guess as a coach, when a team's struggling in a certain area, does that sort of break your ears up though? Maybe it's, Harbaugh to turn things around. Does that become more, I guess, top of mind?
Not necessarily. We're focused on ourselves, trying to just play well down after down, series after series. So we're just really about us trying to just play better football consistently, and that's where the focus is. Yeah.
After 2 losses, I guess the natural instinct, from the outside is to make massive changes, wholesale changes. Sounds like you kind of want to stay the course. Why is that? Why do you want to maintain the status quo essentially?
Because you see, like I said, the missed ops. You see we're that close. It's not like way big old gap where this guy needs to be out here. This guy, you see it. You see it on film as you watch the film very closely, and so we're there. We're there. We just have to start making those plays as the games go on and do it consistently. And I like I said, you sow. Eventually, it's the time to reap the harvest. So we're gonna reap the harvest here very, very soon.
Harlan in the back. You've now been the guy everyone's kind of looking at for the past couple of weeks. I guess, do you feel like things have slowed down in your world a little bit, where you're now more in like a normal week-to-week operation at practice, especially?
Yes, I'm getting, exactly right. Getting more comfortable doing this. It is a change. It was a big change, and so just getting comfortable and it's doing it my way. Doing it, being me. I can't be anybody else. I'm only Harlon Barnett, so that's how I have to operate. I'm not trying to operate like anybody else. And in doing so, I think with anything, you have to catch a rhythm. I've said this before, and just like you back there doing the camera, whatever, you have to catch a rhythm how to do this, and you catch that. Once you catch that rhythm of it, then you know how to flow with it, and everything goes smooth from there, in my opinion.
In that regard, Harlan, how much are you enjoying this? It's not a loaded question. You don't enjoy losing. But you've waited for this for a long time. How much do you enjoy coming to work and trying to get this thing right?
I love it. I love it. And it's at alma mater, and I love this place. I said that before, and anybody knows me knows that. So I'm loving it, Fred. We just got to get in and get some W's. But that's the focus, and that's the goal, to get it done and help these guys keep getting better and better and better. So, but I'm loving it. I really am.
It's 2 things. You said Saturday that you hadn't had a chance to really see what happened on the fake punt, and then you had a shank punt, and you got to win special teams in a situation. What happened on that fake punt?
We had a guy that ran too far up the field. He's supposed to set it down, okay, and then the guy would have punted the ball. He saw that we were up the field. The guy gets pushed up the field that had that contained, and he took off for the run. So we had it. We saw it. It was planned. Guy, just discipline. So that was a discipline thing.
Your first year here was Phil's senior season for George. What is it about his defense that allows them to be as perplexing to offenses, and how do they intercept so many passes in that zone?
Well, that's pretty much all they do. So when it's all you do, you can lock in on people because you know all the adjustments. There's a saying I say, sometimes a coach can be having this defense or offense for that matter, but defense, learning defense as opposed to defending offense. So they're defending offense because they know the defense by the back of their hand. So they're steady defending offense. They looking for different things. Certain formations mean this. Certain things, the quarterback doing this, or a certain lineman. They're looking for all that because the defense is like, hey, we doing what we do for the most part. And so I think that's what has made them very successful consistently throughout the years.
I was wondering if you think, if you anticipate getting any guys back and being healthier this Saturday, whether it's Chuck or Chris or Jacoby or your two backup running backs or your other Mangum who was injured on Saturday. Any of those guys you anticipate?
Day to day. But we should be getting some guys back, hopefully.
Harlon, you just mentioned it, doing it your way. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Some of the notable changes, notable differences?
Notable changes and differences. Well, doing it my way is not just being who I am when I said that initially about doing it my way. I don't think, come in and just change up everything. We're in the midst of the season. So a lot of it I tried to keep as normal as possible. But I mentioned this before, like we pray after practice now. We used to do that with Coach D, so that's something that we do differently. We dress every player on home games. That's something that's a little different. We moved. So this past Friday, we moved chapel to Saturday mornings as opposed to Friday nights, and we used to do it on Saturdays of the game before. So I like that. But I also installed what we call team bonding on Friday evenings after dinner. Just like and have a speaker come in, and we had a speaker come in this week, and he did a great job, and we'll have somebody else come in and speak this week. So you get a combination of a Friday, Saturday deal. But that's just some of the things that I've done, but nothing too crazy where they feel like, what's going on? Where I changed the schedule up too much.
Harlon, wondering why was Chance the guy that you guys went with in that spot, and how do you think he went, or how do you grade out in your evaluation of him in that first game?
Absolutely. So he was the guy. Believe it or not, he was the guy going into the first game. Coach Salgado felt that good about him, and he's a talented young man. He ended up getting hurt the week of that first game, so it didn't work out for him to be the guy in there as the first guy. And then we just. After some injuries last week, we said we're going with him. Let's go, put him out there, and he did a good job. So now he just keep playing like that. Confidence grows, and he'll just keep getting better and better and better. But he's a really good football player, very talented, long, can run. He has to get a little bit stronger, but that'll come. And when he does, watch out. Well, like you said, the here and now is what we have to deal with. We're doing our best at, because if we handle here and now, that's going to help the future, obviously, right? So we have to just handle here and now and focus on that. As far as the future is concerned, when I hear you say future, I'm thinking recruiting, and you have to also balance that as well by continuing to let them know that guys are working hard. We're going to eventually make this thing happen, and then they'll feel comfortable, I think, with us getting on a roll and winning games and things like that. So that's when I think future. That's what I'm thinking. Other than that, it's all focused on the here and now.
How about even choice of personnel, though? Maybe getting some guys that you may want to see. Obviously, 2 or 3 years down the road.
I got you. Whoever can help us win, that's what we're going to use. We're going to use whoever can help us win ball games. So everybody is wide open to being able to play, and that's the mindset.
Any other questions for Coach?
All right.
Listen, there is no doubt Harlon Barnett is in a really tough spot. Says he wants the team to win for Spartan Nation. They all want to win for each other. He said yes, he has always dreamed of being the Spartan head coach, but it's not about me. It will never be. It's about us and that is how it will always be. Welcome back to the Monday press conference edition of Big Ten Live. You're about to hear from PJ Fleck. It will be fascinating to hear from the Minnesota head coach. The loss to Northwestern came as a complete shock, up by 21 in the fourth quarter before eventually losing 37-34. That's the second straight loss for the Gophers. Remember, week prior, they traveled to North Carolina and got beaten by the 20th ranked Tar Heels by the count of 31-13. Time to bounce back and time for us to bounce over to the Twin Cities. Here is Gopher head man PJ Fleck.
Morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. Obviously disappointed with the outcome of last Saturday, as I'm sure everybody is, our fans. And players were in here yesterday. Had a great team meeting. Fortunately, I've been there before, so kind of go back and look at your notes, talk about the things that you need to talk about. There's usually three things after a loss, especially like that you really dissect. Is it scheme? Is it personnel? Is it coaching? I evaluate every game that way, win or lose. But when things happen like that, you really evaluate it, and it was a combination of all three. So there's not one single person to blame for that. You got to give Northwestern a lot of credit. They found a way to win in a very tough circumstance, and we weren't able to make enough plays on the offense, defense, or special teams, and it cost us. That's the thing about football, is the ball's not round. Sometimes it doesn't bounce your way. Sometimes things don't go your way, and sometimes you don't make your own way. And we weren't able to do that in the fourth quarter, which is incredibly disappointing. But this team's got a ton of character, and they're learning. This isn't about, they're just youthful. No, there's a lot of youthful players, that is a fact, and inexperienced players. But there's also some experienced players out there too. And I told you the one thing I worried about with this team, when it's really good, what happens when it's going really good? When it isn't going so good, what happens when it's going not going so good? I said that back in January when you asked me what kind of team we're going to have, and this word poise comes into play. Poise just doesn't mean when it's going good or when it's going bad. It means all the time. And I thought we've shown times this year with poise when it's gone really bad and good. And I've seen at times we haven't when it's gone really bad and good. So that's the development of the character of this team as we keep going forward and we keep getting them better. But that's where we're at. Got to give Northwestern a lot of credit. They earned it, and they earned it. And they got a good victory, and obviously we got a tough defeat. So I'll open up for questions.
This game, you talk a lot about personal responsibility and putting it on your shoulders.
Absolutely. I mean, it's 100% on my shoulders. I'm the head football coach. Everything runs through me. And I don't just say that, guys, to say that to get out of questions. I don't ever say that. Because I go back and look at every decision that the head coach makes, and then if it works, great, you never hear about it. If it doesn't work, okay, why didn't it work? So I'll follow up to your second question because that was more of a statement, I think. So
I was getting to the question. So the question is kind of coming off of that, what changes in your approach coming out?
Well, I think it just, for me, the learning is every team is completely different, which I've said, and I know this team's very different. But you have only so many games of data. Let's just take the third down, for instance, 3rd and 2. Let's just go into that, okay? I'll give you an example because we can go into all of them. I mean, we can spend 7 hours here if you want. We can get into some really good football talk. Best play call available, what we have based on their double legal look, love the call. But the way it's run is maybe the way it's run on an open field, 3rd and 2, maybe in the second quarter. The situation within the play matters more than just the play call. And that's where a young back will understand that. That's where I have to come into play to make sure that that happens. You hear me all the time in practice, not the play the situation. Play the situation. It's the situation within the play. So it's not just the play call, but it's the situation within the play. And this isn't on one person's shoulders. I mean, the kid ran for 200 yards. He was unbelievable. And he did what he needed to do to pick up that first down. But when you're looking at it, you're like, in that situation, what could have I done better to make sure the emphasis was on truly the situation, not just the play call? And I have to be able to do all that. So again, not on him, on me, but those are the types of things that you have to be in that moment, maybe not on the defensive side, but you're getting everybody's piece of information at the same time too, within that timeout. Because there's a 3-prong attack in that one situation. One, okay, if we get a yard, we're going for it. If we don't get a yard or it gets knocked back, we're going to punt it, right? And the field goal came into play maybe if we got enough where I felt like, okay, this is going to be okay. But the field goal was almost pretty much out of it just because it was going to be plus 55 and into the wind, and the wind got a little stronger as the game went on. So it's not that I didn't believe in him. It was just I don't know if that was the high. I might as well go for it if I'm going to kick it. But I was only going to go for it if we got positive yards on that next play. And you can end the game, or you can say, okay, well, I can give them the field position at the 37-yard line if I kick it, miss it, or we don't get it on the first down. And if we lose yardage, immediately I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, I'm not going to go for it. So now we're going to punt it. And we executed the punt perfectly. We just didn't execute, which we've done a million times. It just didn't happen the millionth and first time. And that's not that young man's fault. It happens. It just all happened in that area. And I trust our guys because they've shown they've done it constantly. You go back and watch Q make that play inside the 5 and catch the punt. I mean, he's so trained and so well liked, and he's such a really good football player. That's why I trust him. He just lost sight of where he was. Then that happens. There were so many things that happened within that 15 minutes that was catastrophic for us. So when you're talking about, as a head coach, you're constantly talking situational football in your mind to yourself of what you're going to do if, what you're going to do if, what you're going to do if. And it's all situational based. So what I can do better is, again, it's not that you assume it, but as the old saying says, if I've told them 10 times, then I need to tell them 11. And that's part of the development youth of a young team. And, I failed to do that.
Darius Taylor went out after that third down run, didn't play again. Do you have an update on his status for this week?
No injury update. I'll have that for you 2 hours before game day or game time.
How would you characterize the issues in pass defense right now?
Well, I think right now, remember, you're only as good as what you just did, right? Because I think when you go back and you look at where we were in North Carolina, we got him out of the pocket. He made some plays on his, on the scramble, and we were in a position. Aiden Goosby's in a great position. The kid makes a heck of a play. You can't take away really great plays made by people and say that's poor defense. Some people just make great plays. So there's a handful of those plays at North Carolina that were really, really good coverage, and some that weren't, right? Same thing in this game. But in the last drive, there were 2 times where they missed throws too, where there were 2 guys that were open. And then the last drive, just unacceptable. Our eyes are in the wrong spot. We're not detailed enough. And that comes down to, like I said, is it personnel? Is it coaching? Is it scheme? It's all of it. Right? And we're finding out what our players can do, what this team can do as you continue to gain data, and then you respond to the data. We thought they could do that. We thought they could be in that coverage. We thought they could handle that. Now we got to be able to either switch the personnel or switch the scheme. And I think that's where, you learn from the game. But it wasn't very good, especially in the fourth quarter. I mean, there's no sugarcoating that. It wasn't very good. We had lack of detail. We're not dropping even at the linebacker spot where we need to be able to drop to. There's a lot of inexperienced guys playing linebacker right now, and but that's who's playing, and it's going to pay because these aren't guys that aren't ever going to play. These are guys who are going to play tons of football for the Gophers in the future, and they have to play right now. So it's only an investment to later, but right now it matters, right? And it matters, and what they're going to get now, coaching wise, in that scheme or in their mistakes and their successes they're making is only going to benefit them, when they get into their sophomore year. So it's hard because it's that balance. You understand that they're young, but they're playing and they have to be able to do it because we have some guys that are banged up and injured, and that's part of it. And again, that starts with me.
Did anything stand out to you in your review of the game about the why, like why there was such a team-wide lapse in the fourth quarter like that?
Well, again, it was offense, defense, and special teams. It was odd. Because it wasn't a lack of our guys playing hard. You go back to the film, they're playing their tails off. And that's why I said there's a lot of things you can control, and then there's things you can't control in football. And the minute you think you can control it all, you're out. That's just not how it works. You're up 31-10. The one drive, they go 3 passes in a row and score. That one, completely unacceptable. But then on offense, we have plenty of opportunities to get first downs, control the clock, manage the game on offense, and still score, and we don't. We have special teams that gets affected by that, right? Ball goes into the end zone. So instead of going 80 with no timeouts, they had to go 99, and we didn't execute it well enough. So every single thing, offense, defense, special teams, there was something from it that answered the question why, all packed within this one quarter. But if we're going to talk about our team quitting or our team not giving their all or not playing hard or thought they had it, that's not it at all. First of all, that's not true. I watched it. I watched those things. I feel those things. I listen to those things. Northwestern executed. There is no the momentum piece that had nothing to do with it. They executed. We didn't play well enough. And you look at where our drop spots and where we were in the first half compared to where we were in the fourth quarter. We were a foot off. We were a little bit off here and there. It wasn't the ability to play hard or anything like that. So that was really reassuring. So it was playing the situations. It was understanding situations. It was understanding a double move. Who cares if it beats you or not? Who cares if it beats you? But how can you get beat by a double move when really you know that's what they're going to do? There's no need to jump on it. Keep the space, keep things in front of you, and we weren't able to do that.
Two instances where it looked like you guys threw short of the sticks, Daniel Jackson, Brevin.
I think sometimes when people say, like, well, you throw short of the sticks, I think that's the old people sitting on their couch saying, well, it's 10 yards and you threw the ball 8 yards. I get that piece of what people say because, listen, I get it. I've seen it. I've heard it. I've had my own family say it. There are certain things sitting in zones where, okay, the route might call for a 6-yard route and he catch punctures. There's plenty of space. He runs for 20 yards, gets the first. There's all types of certain things that you're creating in the plays that you actually call. However, yes, the route on 2 instances to our tight end called for the route to be able to pick up the first down with the route's depth, and we did not get our depth. That's what I said, that everything we did, it wasn't that they didn't play hard, but the lack of the detail in the execution, that wasn't there. And again, that's why it starts with the head coach. If the route's at 5, the route needs to be at 5. If anything, it's at 5.5, not 4 or 3, right? And so that's where we had that struggle. There was one other play that I think we extended a little bit deeper than what we probably wanted it to be, and we're a yard short. So, but there were 2 other instances that the route is just short in general. But I'm not into like, okay, well, I know it's 3rd and 20 and we're going to throw a 2-yard route. Now, sometimes you got to check it down. Think about when it's 3rd and 20. Why would you check it down? Why would you check it down? Because sometimes a punt's a really good play in a certain situation. Now, our situations, on 2 or 3 of them, we didn't get our depth. And that was unfortunate because that's why the play is called.
The offensive line opened up some big holes for Darius. And I thought for the most part, especially in the first half, 3 quarters, Nathan had plenty of time to throw.
He did.
Were you happy with the unit?
I was happy with, it was. But again, it comes down to still situational football. I was happy with the performance of, again, keeping Nathan clean, Nathan having time. I thought Nathan played way better, right? We're talking about this young quarterback, and this is after a week that he had to do what he did. It doesn't get enough credit because it gets lost in the loss, right? He was perfect. I think it was 8 for 8 at halftime. Talking about to be able to have the mental fortitude to come back after maybe the worst game he's played, that shows the growth that I've told you all that he can do. And you can see the accuracy. You can see his pocket presence. He's only going to keep getting better, guys. He's a really good football player. The offensive lines did a great job of taking ownership of protecting him, helping him with that bounce back. And then, we said back in the Eastern Michigan week that we need to be able to run the football. Darius has shown the ability to break tackles. It's not going to be perfect. Our O-line did a really good job with Mohamed Ibrahim here, but Mohamed Ibrahim also broke a lot of tackles and carried a lot of people on his back, right? And everybody got credit for it, which in the same time, there'd be a huge hole and we get 1 yard in it, and there would be like, what happened up front? So it all comes down to the big guys up front. I think they're doing a really good job of playing cohesively as one. It's just now we've got to be able to be, again, in those situations, in those 3rd and 1 to 2s. You got to know how important those are. And in years past, maybe we haven't focused on a lot of that, or I've talked much about it because it's been so fluid with the execution that it looks easier than it really is. And right now, it doesn't look as easy.
Darius kind of channeled Mo when on that touchdown run when he was stopped, went to the outside, and made a nice run.
Yeah, he did make a nice run. And what he did was he kept it really tight to the shelf and got his foot vertical. And then he was able to break the tackle because he was hit short of the first down. Ran him over, stiff arm, broke the tackle and went. And again, when you go back to some of the other short yardages in the key situations, instead of keep extending that, know the situation, stick your foot in the ground, let's go get a first down first. And that's what, my whole thing is the first down first in key situational football. First down first, reset the downs. We'll get to the next one. Just got to reset the downs. Because if we don't reset the downs, we don't have a chance for the next series, right? For the next, the next 1st and 10. So, and I think that's where we're just going to continue to learn. And we've prided ourselves for, 11 years being really good at situational football. And I got to do a better job of continue to educate them on that.
First half, it seemed like there was a lot of passing on the early downs. In the second half, maybe not so much. Was that mainly dictated by the score differential at the time, or what led to that?
Well, in the second half, we opened the half with 4 straight throws. So I don't know if I necessarily would say, based on what your question is, which is a good question, it's just I don't know if that's what it was. We throw the first ball of the first half, have a 20-yard completion or 18-yard completion, and then we throw 3 straight times off an RPO and go 0 for 3. You can imagine me, we just got the ball, 14:30 on the clock. I'm sitting there going, where are the seconds and minutes gone? And now it's just like they got the ball in the second half. Make sense? So it wasn't like it was a reprimand, just run the ball, but you only go based on the execution of what you're doing. And then you have a lead, and then you're up 31-10, and now it's about ball possession. I'm used to having that ball 7-8 minutes. And next thing you know, you're up 38-10, the game's over, or you kick a field goal 34-10, there's only 6 minutes left in the game. So your question's very fair and valid. I just don't think that's what we were necessarily looking at on the first and second down passes.
Defenses try to cover Brevin differently this season.
Well, they definitely are way more aware of him. Way more aware of him. I know that, his production from a statistical standpoint isn't where you want it. I want him to be better every single day. Heck, I just had a meeting with him. So that's my job, is to continue to get him better and continue to improve all his little minor details. But you see people paying way more attention to him. You don't see people, eyes in the backfield letting him slip behind him. And, he's earned the right to gain a lot more attention. Now, what we have to do is continue to get him free. But they're giving him more attention, which is allowing some of our other playmakers to make more plays as well. I thought you take the first 3 quarters, which nobody cares about, but I do, because I look for the improvement of the football team. And I thought we played a really good 3-quarter football game. And we came off a game that was really tough where we didn't execute that well on offense. And you go into we're up 31-10 in the third quarter, 31 points in 3 quarters with the response to a pretty stout, when you're talking guys who have played a ton of football for them. And, we just got to the fourth quarter and didn't execute like we did the first 3 quarters. That's football. I remember an NFL game last year where our home state's NFL team came back. I think the Packers came back. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it's football. It's unfortunate because it doesn't happen to us very often, if ever. And when it happens, it's harder because it's like, wait a minute, what happened? And how'd that happen to his led football team? And I think that's what's hard for me too, because I hurt just like the players hurt with them. However, why did I hurt? Because you care, and they care. And they didn't want that to happen. And you got to give Northwestern a lot of credit. And it wasn't somebody wanted it more than somebody else. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with just us not executing and finishing the game in some critical situational plays that we will get corrected.
In overtime.
PJ Fleck talking about coaches needing to get players better. Maybe this one's on the trainers or Darius Taylor, who was injured in the fourth quarter at Northwestern, didn't return. Remember, Taylor is the 3-time reigning Big Ten Freshman of the Week. PJ Fleck going back to that Big Ten instituted rule this year about an injury report, saying he will not have an update until 2 hours before kickoff time on Saturday. Not sure Tom Allen envisioned his team needing 4 overtimes to knock off Akron, but that is exactly what happened on Saturday night as the Hoosiers beat the Zips 29-27 in 4 OTs. Random stat of the day, Indiana has now won 5 straight overtime games under head coach Tom Allen. Ohio State started the year by handing Indiana a conference loss. Hoosiers bounced back with the win over Indiana State, then nearly came back from a 21-0 deficit, but came up just short against Louisville. More drama this past Saturday as IU evens up its record at 2-2 with the win over Akron. We take you to Bloomington now. Here is IU headman Tom Allen.
Morning. Wanted to recognize some players from this past week, our scout team players of the week. We had Ray Stewart, defensive scout player of the week. He's doing a great job for us here. Local young man from Bloomington North. He's just working really hard and does an awesome job in practice. Offensive scouts of the week, Jack Greer, Reese Bellum. Special teams scout of the week, Reese Lozano. Also, Bloomington North product. And just all four of those guys just continue to give us great effort and allow us to prepare each week to be able to play on game day. And then players of the game, Cam Camper, offensive player of the game, Lewis Moore, defensive player of the game, and Chris Feeman, the special teams player of the game. Questions?
Yeah, Tom, I mean, can you take us through the process after the game? You know, it gets done late. You said it was going to be late night or early morning. What were those kind of 12 to 24 hours like? And, you know, can you take us into the process a little? Was it any different, you know, more film watching or more kind of self-scout? Like, take us through that process if you could.
Yeah, obviously a late finish. So, you know, when you finish a game, you know, you're not like, you know, you can't just turn your brain off, you know, so it takes a while to kind of unwind, and then you watch a few clips. I watched the majority of it in the morning, bright and early, but just talked with some coaches, talked about some things together. Obviously, they want you to get a chance to watch everything, and for me, it's watching both sides of the football. We modified our schedule with our players. Just felt like we just kind of needed to give them a little more, some time. You know, we brought them in, met with them, did some recovery work with them, watched the film together, and then got them out. And so just really, you go through, and we've been going obviously since fall camp. So just thought they needed a little bit of a break. And so, but as a coaching staff, just really go through, and you want to break down. Okay, why did we not? You know, on each particular play, was it scheme? Was it you know, the technique that the player was using, or was it just something that he's, you know, not good enough at right now, or something that he needs to, you know, either improve at, or hey, this is not a good match for his skill set. So try to find out what caused the breakdowns, you know, as you go through on the east side of the football and special teams. So obviously you try to identify all those issues, and without question, you know, didn't play to our standard, not acceptable at all in regards to us not finishing drives offensively. In those situations would have changed the whole complexion of the game if you do. Drop balls, to me, there's lack of focus and fundamentals of looking the ball in and then running after you catch it to create really momentum-shifting, game-changing plays that hurt you in those situations. And so, and then just talk about, like, hey, what do we got to do to make sure that we're, you know, not having not a good, that's because you have 2 weeks in a row where we didn't play in the first half, especially. You know, I thought our defense played well majority of the first half, but didn't play well offensively in the first half, and that's 2 weeks in a row of that. So you feel, okay, now you got a pattern of that happening, and so how do you address that, and what changes do you make to be able to, you know, once again, is it one of those 3 areas you go through? So obviously a lot of discussions and adjustments, and obviously still in that mode right now as we get ready for tomorrow's practice.
I guess you talked about just feeling like the team didn't have its whole focus last week. Maybe there was just whether it's an urgency, intensity, whatever word you want to use. Just and you talked about shaking up the schedule already. What's the balance for you as a coach in terms of maybe trying to inject that, trying to maybe get some of it organic from players in terms of, you know, their own leadership and their own sort of self-motivation, and also maybe not wanting to, I guess, go over the top with it and maybe just have them a little bit too on edge?
Sure. Yeah, I do think there's a balance. I do think there's a understanding your team, and but it goes back to kind of what I said as far as okay, why, you know, and I know, you know, I saw the thing on the Big Ten Network where it's been like 16 straight years where a MAC team is beating the Big Ten team, you know, and so this would have been, and by us, you know, finding a way to win in a tough battle that we, you know, found ourselves in. That was the last game for this year. So this is the first time that they haven't beaten the Big Ten team in the last 16 years. So it's obviously something you have to battle against. I think there's a common misperception, of your players sometimes about the different levels. And we fully know as a staff that you don't show them play your best and you got a chance to get beat. I don't care who you're going to play, especially a team, from that conference that has good enough players, good enough coaches to beat you if you don't play your best, especially if you make mistakes, And so I feel like that getting them to understand that, that's the challenge, and you go through different things. And I gave a lot of different stats before the game, starting on Tuesday, to go through and gave it how many, in the last 20 years, there's been 187 group of 5 teams that beaten Power 5 teams. Okay, that's a lot of games that they've won. So just trying to show that, and then still feel like even during the week you're not quite getting the focus that you want. So, players got to understand that, and they got to respond. They got to be ready to play, no matter who you play. And you got opportunities you got to take advantage of. So just disappointed that we didn't have the whole team ready to play at their very, very best. So that's what I expected us to be at, and work to that end during the week, and didn't feel like we got. So now you address that and you talk about that, and so you kind of everything you do on Sunday is about getting your minds right, because obviously we understand we're now back in Big Ten play, so those issues are no longer there in regards to getting yourself ready to play and understand who you're playing against, but at the same time you don't want to see a team not take advantage of an opportunity, and I feel like we didn't in that situation, because you want to be able to keep growing and building in your preparation approach and how you do things each and every day. So just want our guys to understand the brevity of every situation. You better be ready to play every time you take the field, because a lot of good football teams out there that if you're not at your best, you're going to be disappointed.
Hey, Coach, you've talked in the past about how you want your offense to look, kind of its identity. Where do you feel the identity of the offense is right now, and is it anywhere close to what you want it to look like? And if it's not, what needs to change for it to get there?
Yeah, I just think that, as we talked about before, the way that we played, in the second half of Louisville, to me, is what you see is what you want, and I feel like that we got to be able to run the football. Did not do a good job of that at all. Didn't stay on blocks. We got to the right people, but didn't finish them, and that has to change. That's a big area of focus this week, and feel like that want to be able to throw the football effectively. I know we have to. Didn't do as good a job protecting our quarterback. That was kind of multiple groups. It wasn't just up front. It was our running backs. It was our tight ends as well. Didn't do a good job. Did have guys targeted correctly, but didn't finish some of those as well, especially with our backfield blocking. Wasn't near to the standard it needs to be. And so, but that to me is the ability that allows. We still, made some explosive plays in the throw game, but not near what we should have. And so, to me, you got to be able to, be a team that they can't key on certain things. They got, whether it's formational, personnel, D&D situations, run pass situations. As far as you got to be able to have them, having to react to what you're doing in the moment instead of pre-snap and the things that you have. So to me, we got to be able to be, we just didn't have a rhythm. We didn't play, and it just was obvious. And so we got to obviously get that back. And to me, that's on us as coaches. We got to do a better job getting our guys ready to play, and the play calling itself, and just in terms of matching the strengths of our guys. And that's what I'm saying, because obviously what we did wasn't effective and wasn't good enough, especially down there in the score zone. So to me, that's about being able to score points. And that's right now is something we're not doing at a high enough level. And that's what we know we have to do to win in the Big Ten.
Morning, Coach. I'm going to do you a favor, just asking this directly, no nonsense. Just Walt Bell's play calling has been a very hot topic in the fan base, obviously. Do you feel the play calling has maximized the potential of this offense through 4 games, and are adjustments needed moving forward?
Well, obviously on Saturday it was not. We did not score points offensively. We did not take advantage of situations offensively, and you can look at different reasons for that. But the bottom line is at the end of the day, it's the job of the offense to score. It's the job of the defense to keep out of the end zone. And part of that is protecting the football on both sides of the ball. We create takeaways on defense. We did have one that we gave away on offense, which hurt us for sure. Defense helped them to a field goal, but at the same time, we're not scoring the points we need to score without question. So to me, we got to do a better job of that. And so that's everything. It's play calling, it's technique, it's the scheme adjustments, it's everything we need to do to be able to maximize our guys and help us get the ball in the end zone. So at the end of the day, we're performance-based assessment, and we got to perform as players and as coaches. And so the goal is to get the ball in the end zone offensively, and so we can win football games. And so got to get better.
Yeah, hey, Tom, when you look at Maryland, what challenges do you see from them offensively and defensively?
Well, really good football team. Coach Loxley's doing a great job there. They've recruited a lot of good players, got a really good quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten, obviously as a returning multi-year starter, very experienced, a lot of talent at the receiver position, tight end position, very productive. Their leading receivers are tight end. They're 3 good running backs, 2 that we faced last year extensively, and defensively, big and physical. They've always been athletic every year. Played them here for 8 years now, and always one of the most athletic teams we play. That's no different this year. They're creating a lot of takeaways on defense. They've scored a lot of points off takeaways for their offense. So they're playing really complimentary football. They're 4-0 right now, just their first Big Ten win this past weekend, and played really well in East Lansing. So a really good football team, and they play hard, physical, and athletic on both sides of the ball, and then on special teams as well. So definitely a very, very important game for us, big week for us as we get back into Big Ten play and playing a really, really good football team on the road.
Tom, you talked about your film study and the scheme versus the individual execution component to it. Was there a percentage that leaned one way or the other when you studied the film? And regardless, what's the diagnosis for both issues as you go forward?
Yeah, I think the biggest, glaring thing to me was technique and execution as far as being able to finish out the plays. We had some good things called at times we didn't execute. We had, when even pre-snap, you look at this play and you're like, okay, it should end up good for us, and we didn't execute the play, whether it was poor footwork or finishing the block or being able to make the proper read, so, and then obviously there's times where we feel, hey, we could have called a better call here, we could have done this better there, and there's a combination of some of those things as well. But to me, I just feel like we got to be locked in, we got to execute. To me, that to me is the focus of what we have to be able to do better, and also just be able to continue to maximize your quarterback's skills and what he does, and help him be able to make the best decisions possible. And so I think just sometimes even limiting some of those things for him can help him as well. I think as the season progresses and you get multiple things that you have to see and adjust to each week as teams begin to game plan against a certain quarterback, that's important for him to be able to do those things. So, but we as coaches have to do a great job of helping him. So it's a combination without question, but I thought the biggest issue was not executing, the calls and being able to, play with the great technique we have to have and the effort we have to finish out the blocks, finish out the plays, and then just, play good football, which obviously wasn't to our standard on offense.
Tom, with the types of focus issues that you've talked about, and this is your first true road game of the season coming up, what sorts of challenges does that present in terms of getting your guys locked in? And could that, the change of scenery maybe benefit your guys in terms of getting them locked back in? Well,
you need to play well on the road, obviously, in order to have success first season. So I think, we obviously had a chance to travel to Indianapolis. It wasn't a long trip, did not get on a plane. We just took a bus there, so we're going to fly to Maryland, so you get this, but once you get there, I think it's a similar feel. So you have the hotel, the walkthroughs, the movements in that setting, so we had a chance to do that together, which is a positive thing. So have a 3:30 kick, so that allows you to kind of get in a good rhythm on game day. So to me, it's just, road's the road. It's I think it can bring teams together. You have a great chance to really bond on these trips and be able to continue to build your team and build the chemistry and the connections of your guys. So I look forward to road trips. I know it's obviously challenging to play on the road. You got the noise level of different stadiums that becomes a variable and a factor for offenses, on the road, and to be able to communicate effectively. So just going to do a great job preparing for that, handling that, and obviously with having a young quarterback would be more specifically to be able to have him ready for those environments, which is important. So definitely looking forward to this opportunity without question, and excited for our guys to come back tomorrow to be really ready to have a great week of preparation. And so to me, the focus is, should not be an issue. Obviously, we're back into Big Ten play and playing against the Big Ten teams the rest of the way. So I know that our guys understand where we're at, what we need to do, and just rely on your leadership for your guys to be able to help us travel well and be really, really good on the road.
Coming from your defensive background, I think Lewis Moore said Saturday night that there were a lot of lessons that Indiana could take from that performance against Akron. How have you kind of seen them respond in these next 48 hours with regards to the evaluation of that performance?
Yeah, I just think there's first of all, when you think about your team and how you build your team. You look for in those moments when things aren't going the way you expected them to go, especially that kind of a game. So you always know when you play a team like that you're favored against. As the game progresses and they still hang around, you see their sideline energy increase, and then the energy of the team that's supposed to win, it kind of like everybody's looking around each other like, what's going on here? So to be able to learn from how do you handle those situations? What are guys saying on the sideline? And we had a lot of strong verbal confirmation from our older guys and experienced guys that how to respond the right way, which I thought was very positive. And then you got some younger guys still trying to figure that out. So I'm even talked to one of our younger safeties as they were driving there at the end to try and get that last field goal about playing every snap to the final whistle, go ready to block a kick and all those different things. And so you learn and say, how do you handle that? And you learn to believe when you make it through a 4 overtime game that, hey, you just stay the course. No matter how we got here, we got to find a way to finish. And man, you learn a lot of great things about your team and the ability to be resilient, the ability to stay locked in and to keep believing in what you're doing and find a way. Because you think about it, in those overtime periods, you had all 3 phases made a big play. We had a huge kick by Chris Freeman. That was, in order to keep the game going, was huge for him. And then you had a huge, 2-point play that we executed correctly to be able to win the game, and then the defense had to go out there and get a stop in that situation. So all 3 phases had to come together. When you're fatigued, you played for a long time, especially all the snaps we played on defense for obvious reasons. And so how are you going to be able to bow up? So you learn from those things, and you be able to dig deep and have to execute in those moments. So you're just teaching all the time. You're teaching yesterday, you're teaching in those moments, and you got to learn from that. And you also got to learn, hey, when things aren't going your way offensively, how do you guys respond when you get your chance to go out there and finish off a game? What are you going to do? And so to me, much to learn, got to grow from it. We're still young in our season. Got to get our guys and our leaders to be able to, and I thought even on offense, especially up front, guys saying the right things, trying to keep the guys together, stay focused, stay locked in, and just to kind of, hey, we got to come back and do it again and try to find a way to get this self-corrected during the game. So obviously didn't get what we needed, for the majority of the game, but obviously made a play at the end to be able to help us win. So you still have to find a way to win a football game, which isn't easy to do. We made it way harder than it needed to be, but also respect for them. And at the same time, what do we got to do to make sure we keep growing and getting better as a football team?
DJ Irons had a lot of big scrambles against you guys. Obviously, he's a really talented quarterback, and there's no perfect defensive answer for dual threat quarterback who can create plays like that. But after 2 weeks in a row where that QB scrambles kind of really hurt you, what's like the coaching point to try and make sure that doesn't happen?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, you bring up a great point. It's going to be a huge emphasis this week. We're playing the third one. That's going to be very, very elusive. He hasn't been sacked very many times, and because he's hard to get on the ground. We've played him the last couple of years and know it full well. And so, yeah, we got to specifically drill. We're going to do some things specifically in drill work, as a defense to be able to work through this. I got to do a great job simulating that. Going to make some adjustments schematically because obviously some things we've been doing to put a little more stress on that and not giving us a chance to be as effective. So we're going to make some adjustments there, which we need to make. But bottom line is, you're right. I mean, that's when a quarterback breaks containment like that. That's when everything. Whether him running it or, and obviously Irons had the ability to has the speed to get down the field and hurt you in a big way. And so does the one we're playing this week. So I just think that we got to do a better job schematically, and I think we also got to do a better job practicing it specifically, So obviously you work through it all, but it's got to be a specific thing we're working on, and it is going to be this week because obviously it's hasn't been one of our strengths the last 2 weeks, and it's going to have to be on Saturday.
Tom Allen went back, watched the tape, and did not mince any words. Quote, without question, didn't play to our standard, not acceptable at all for the Hoosiers. Hasn't exactly been the start that Ryan Walters envisioned either down the road in West Lafayette. 3 losses in his first 4 games as the Purdue head coach, though to be fair, a really challenging schedule for any coach with his first year in this program. Coming off the most recent loss to Wisconsin, 38-17. Here is Walters from his weekly press conference on Monday.
Yeah, we obviously came out super flat, which was surprising to me, just given the history of that game in particular, and what was at stake in the week's preparation leading up to kickoff, and then came out at halftime and started the way I thought we would have started the game. So message to the team was like right now we are both of those teams. We are the first quarter team and we are the third quarter team. Albeit as different as they may seem, and we have to decide who we want to be consistently. And if we choose to consistently be who we were in post halftime, which was aggressive and competitive and all the things that you want in a competition, then we have a chance to be a good football team. And if we don't, if we are cautious and try to fill the game out with the rest of the schedule that we play, like it's going to be hard to win a game. So was happy with the way they practiced yesterday and the approach they've taken already. And like I've been saying from the start, I do believe this team will just continue to get better as the season goes.
I was going to say 1-3 star, obviously not what you guys want. Just how do you guys get better and turn this page?
Yeah, I mean, you got to take a step back and sort of look at big picture. Obviously you don't want to be, nobody wants to be 1-3 to start a season. But you look at the opponents that we've played, and the chances we've had in the games that we've lost, and just the improvement from week to week, just on understanding scheme and not having like mental errors and mental busts, and continuing to develop positive practice habits and winning mentality and all those things. So you don't want to panic with the start, but you definitely want to urgently fix the things that you need to fix. And so we're doing that currently right now. Not wholesale changes, but like tweaks here and there to continue to improve the program.
So, Illinois staff and players well. They know you well. How does that kind of work in your preparation? Do you have to be a little bit different than what you think they might expect, or do you think they're doing the same thing?
Watching their film now, like I haven't watched their film all season until, we played Friday. I watched their tape Saturday. They have changed a little bit, as have we. You want to cater and tweak things to be conducive to what your roster is capable of doing and what they're good at. There still is a lot of familiarity, like I can tell with what I'm seeing on tape, and obviously I got to go against Coach Lunny every day in practice for a spring and a fall. So there are some similarities there, but there are also a lot of new faces in that program as well that I wasn't there for. And so I ran through the scouting report from a personnel standpoint for our offense and just talked about who the guys were on defense and what they were good at, and what to expect from a structure standpoint. And then watching their offense, they're good guys, or have been their good guys for a while, and I think Coach Lunny does a good job of trying to get his playmakers the ball in space. So there's definitely familiarity there. But at the end of the day, like, we got to worry about what we are doing and how we can improve, so that we can go out there and compete our tails off on Saturday.
Ryan, regardless of Illinois and your ties to them, I think you feel like this team just needs to beat somebody and kind of flip that script. Is that kind of how you go in? It's one win away from possibly flipping the whole season.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was also one of the messages we preached on Sunday. We got to get the guys Saturday off, met Sunday and watched the film and then practice. And so the team meeting was very candid and very honest about where we are and what we need to do to go to where we want to go. And just that, you never know when greatness is around the corner. You never know when a streak starts. There's every great team, every great program has had a beginning of something special. And, there is some outside and added storylines because of the nature of the history between myself and Illinois. But at the end of the day, we need to win a game. We need to win a game at Ross-Ade. We need to win a Big Ten game to right the ship and to start turning the tide in our favor.
I saw that the team is, officially dedicating the Tiller Tunnel this weekend. Just how much did you know about Coach Tiller before you became a Boilermaker?
Not a whole lot. Obviously, I didn't know a whole lot about Purdue in general. You know, I grew up in the mountains of Colorado. You know what I mean? Spent the majority of my life in the West Coast region. Obviously knew who Drew Brees was and was a big fan of his as a high school quarterback. But once I got the job, really started doing some digging and diving on who Joe Tiller was and what he means to this university. And so, you know, very proud to be in a position that he once filled. And you know, he definitely has set the mark of what it means to be a great football coach here at Purdue University. And my hope is only to you know, one day be mentioned in the same breath as him. And that would be a huge honor.
Ryan, what do you think this team's offensive identity is?
Yeah, you know, I think we are good at. I don't want to go into like specific on scheme because, you know, obviously teams will like to start working on those things, right? But I think we know who our playmakers are. I think we have a good idea of what type of schemes our offensive line is good at. I think we're understanding how HUD sees the game and what type of plays he likes to run. You know, when we get first downs early in drives, it seems like we score points, and so the emphasis moving forward would be like we got to get that first down, because when we do it goes with pace. When we play with pace, it keeps defenses on their heels, and we're able to attack, you know, on the ground and through the air. I think we run the ball better than people give us credit for. And I think we got running backs that are good and probably need a couple more touches.
Yeah, speaking of the running backs, what will the plan be as far as the use of those guys? And do you think maybe it should be a two-man rotation?
You know, I don't know if two-man, because I still think Dylan is also very capable and has a role. I think the three of them complement each other well. You know, I think Tyrone is playing lights out right now. You know, in offense and on special teams, like he really has been a bright spot for us. I mean, every time he's got the ball in his hand, something good happens. You know, Maccabee, as you guys have seen, is hard to bring down. You know, we fixed the ball security issues from the Syracuse game, and he's hard to bring down. You know, his big run the other night was negated by a holding call, and you know, those penalties really they stall drives, and so we got to clean up that for sure. But you know, I think, you know, we've got listed Tyrone and Maccabee as or starters, and that's sort of how we view them.
You know, the offensive line sort of struggled to protect. You think will there be any changes there? I noticed there's an or between Musa and Daniel Johnson. Just sort of talk about the offensive line. How do you think it's played so far?
You know, obviously having Gus back in the lineup really helps. He is a really, really good player. And I think it calms everybody else down around him, just the way he communicates. You know, we moved Kaltenberger to guard at times to see, you know, how he fits there. And, you know, to be honest, still trying to find the right mix of the five guys that will do the majority of the playing. You know, I think Marcus Bowe is playing at a high level at tackle. And like I said, we are understanding what type of plays they are good at running, and are trying to do more of those.
Is Ben Freehill back this week?
Yeah.
And then
no, sorry, you said Freehill?
Yeah, Ben Freehill. He's listed at the top of the depth chart. I wasn't sure if he was back or if Macias was going to kick two field goals again this week.
Yeah.
And then just the, you know, I guess you talked earlier about the slow starts. I mean, well, what can you do to start quicker, Ryan? I think I added it up. I think you're getting outscored 76-48 in the first half. I mean, well, what can you do to charge it up and come out and get on the board?
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously, you know, we've had discussions on, you know, do we take the ball if we win a toss to try to kickstart it? You know, we started on offense first at Virginia Tech, but then we started on offense first the other night. It didn't go so well. You know, I think part of it is a mentality standpoint and coming out the gate like ready to attack. You know, I feel like right now at times we still are looking around wondering, like, are we as good as we think we are? Or like, am I going to make the play, or is my buddy next to me going to make the play? Instead of just playing a game and playing it with aggression. Football in its nature is an aggressive sport, and so if you're not aggressive in your approach, you'll get hit in the mouth, and we've gotten hit in the mouth in the games that we've lost, especially early.
Any other questions for Coach? Sam?
You've seen this from both sides now, but how big of a deal is that cannon for winning that in a rivalry game with a traveling trophy?
Yeah, anytime there's a trophy involved, it's a big deal. You're playing for something more than just a mark in the win or loss column, and so that's something that we've talked about and preached. Like, the cannon has to stay here, and we will do everything we can to make sure that happens.
Just obviously Luke Altmaier can move a little bit, he's mobile. Just how much emphasis are you going to put on stopping him in the run game?
Yeah, it just depends on how much they try to use him in the run game. He'll have a couple design runs here and there, but I also don't know what they think of their backup situation. And so you've seen the last couple of games him not running as much, but we'll definitely be ready for it. They're going to try to do everything they can to win a game, and I'm sure using the quarterback will be part of that.
Illinois, Purdue, a reunion of sorts for Ryan Walters and Bret Bielema. It's a 3:30 Peacock game, and yes, both these teams looking for the cannon right now resides in West Lafayette. The Boilermakers trying to keep it there after the 2023 meeting with the Illini. It has been an up and down first month of the season for the Illini. Last second win over Toledo to start the year, then back-to-back losses at Kansas, and of course getting handled by Penn State. Illini were in trouble early against Florida Atlantic, found a way to run off 23 straight points and pick up the win to even up their record at 2-2. We've taken out of Champaign. Here is Illinois headman Bret Bielema.
Got done with the game on Sunday and recognized several players, especially on offense. Gave a lot of credit to our running back room, just those four guys in general. The way the game kind of played out, we talked about establishing identity and playing with some physicality, and Reggie was the first off the bench, then Josh. Obviously, I think the way the order went, Caden was the next one in, and then Aiden. But I thought all four of those guys affected the game, and to have that kind of come through was really, really good. I did think Luke, in retrospect, looking at the game film, I liked the way he handled and managed. There was a couple things that he created on his own. Really, the big play to Griffin Moore. He was there and had to extend the play a little bit and made it happen, and then. One of the first touchdowns where he kind of made it happen with his feet was pretty impressive. And then also Isaiah Williams, just another good example. When that guy touches the ball, he not only excites the crowd base, he ignites our players as well. And when he plays well, we play well. So excited to see that. And then defensively, there were a lot of really positive things. I thought Keith Randolph probably played one of his best games. Now, this group did have a plan for Johnny. They were doing a lot of things that were drawing attention to him, which when that happens, especially as an interior D lineman, that's got to free up other guys. So hopefully that is something that continues. I know it gets frustrating for Johnny, but it can be rewarding for others. And then a guy, Kanena Audalaga, just is a guy, that has just kind of silently done his business, has continued to play really well. But I think between Tariq, Dylan Rosiak, and Kanena, and now you throw Josh Kreutz in there a little bit, those four guys at the inside backer position are very, very unique. All of them kind of have a different skill set, but fun to watch that group continue to grow. So, and then just the way the game played out, Taz was out after the first half. T. Strain rolls his ankle, forced a lot of those young freshmen into action. I thought they handled it very, very well. So we put the game behind us pretty quickly on Sunday. Obviously did enough things to correct and review offense, defense, and special teams, but jumped into our Purdue preparation, actually shortened our review time and extended our preparation time on Sunday. Today we'll have the day off, but our guys I know are chomping at the bit to get back into really an 8-week window here, 4 weeks in a row, then a bye week, then 4 weeks in a row. Both segments have 2 home games and 2 away games for us in Big Ten play, so to get this opportunity to go on the road and play the defending Big Ten West champs, I think is something that they're excited about. Give a lot of credit to Purdue. The last 2 years we haven't come out on top in a trophy game. It's something that I think our guys have talked about for a long time, so excited for the opportunity this week. Health-wise, I think everybody For the most part, should be with us. Reggie and T. Strain, who had kind of lower leg injuries, weren't as significant as we may have thought at first. And those guys, if they don't practice tomorrow, should be fully engaged with us on Wednesday. Taz really was just a day issue. Taz had pretty significant sickness. He didn't practice Thursday or Friday, had over 100-degree temp, kind of that had been floating around us a little bit, and that kind of steamwheeled on him on Saturday. So wouldn't expect any problems or issues back with him. So other than that, I think we should be full strength for Saturday.
How does familiarity between the two staffs, schemes, play a role?
Yeah, you know, again, I tell Josh all the time he's getting a bargain with me at 53. I've been through a couple of these. You know, my first D coordinator job, I was the defensive coordinator at Wisconsin, but I had been on the Iowa staff with Kirk and that whole entire defense staff. Phil Parker and I were on the original staff with Kirk going back to the day. So I've done a lot of these crossover moments, and then obviously when I became the head coach, you know, some commonalities of coaches you've been around, played around. I remember when I was at Wisconsin as a head coach, we faced Mike Hankwitz, who was the defensive coordinator for me, and he went on to become D coordinator at Northwestern. So there's a lot of these times where you have familiarity. This is an easy one just because Ryan was here last year and a couple guys on their staff. But I think these are things that come up more than you probably think from the outside world. We've been really talking about this game from last year's season in to where we are because we knew it was going to be the first Big Ten West opponent of the year, and it was going to be the beginning of an 8-week window of all conference play. So I think that's the bigger issue, maybe so than who's on their staff.
When was the last time you talked to Ryan?
To Ryan?
Yeah.
Talk to him? I know I talked to him the Saturday before we got going, just because I usually give that to our coaches, and I remember I called him just because I hadn't really talked to him that summer, and just wished him luck going into the season. But I think that was the last. I don't think I've talked to him on the phone. Maybe shot a text or two, but that's it.
Head coach.
Oh yeah.
You've said you didn't really want him to go to Purdue necessarily, but because it was, you know, some tension there or whatever.
Yeah.
You're playing him, but does anything surprise you about, you know, what he's been able to do, or?
I don't know what I said or didn't say. I was happy for Ryan. I mean, I called Purdue. Yeah. Yeah. I think the only reason that I might have said that is just it's a Big Ten opponent, and you have the desire to have people that you care about have success. But when it's in your division, that's not the case. But other than that, no, I think you really do learn to put these things aside. I remember the first time I ever had this really happen was I was a D coordinator going to Iowa, and you know, if actually going into that day, if we won that game, we were going to be Big Ten champs. I think we intercepted the first 2 third-down passes, played pretty good defensively, but Jimmy Leonard was my safety, which made it a bit easier. But that one was tough just because of all that during the course of the week, and I really learned how to, that point forward, that's been over 18 years ago now, right? Like, it's really not a big deal.
You want that tree to grow, your coaching tree, obviously, right? That's a great thing, right? You would think.
You know, I hire 10 coaches every year. I want every one of them to be a head coach. I think we hire, I learned that quote from Hayden Fry early on. He hires coaches who he hopes want to become head coaches. I think some guys have it, some guys don't. I would say on my current staff, I probably have 4 to 5 guys that I think will probably be head coaches eventually. When that happens, how it happens, that's in it. Again, you go from life lessons. I remember having a conversation with Paul Christ after we'd been together 4 or 5 years. His name had come up on some things. There was a job open at Kansas, if I'm not mistaken. I knew the AD. I let Paul and the AD interview at my house because they both wanted to be off record kind of. So I set it up and let them interview in my house and let them cross paths. It didn't end up happening. But then when Paul eventually became the Pitt job, I remember specifically walking down to his office and saying, hey, do you want this one? I know Coach is tied into their Coach Alvarez at that time. And we did everything we could to get that job. And that's Dave Dorn when I helped him get the Northern Illinois job, you know, when he was defensive coordinator for me, Chris Ash getting the Rutgers job, Charlie Partridge getting the FAU job. I get calls all the time. The search firm that did the Purdue job, I introduced Ryan to the director of that search firm a year prior. So, like, I mean, there's just, if you hire good coaches, you know what's going to happen. It's just you just don't know when.
Nicario Harper, just to maybe his
Of what?
Nicario Harper
Oh,
in
yeah.
terms of his development, probably personal growth.
Yeah.
What would you see out of him, and what can he add to you guys?
You know, I say this all the time. Everything adds together, right? 2 + 2 = 4. So doesn't 3 + 1 or 6 - 4. 6 - 2 is 4, right? Like you can get to different numbers easily. Nicario Harper, we had an academic meeting every Thursday, and he had 2 A's in the classes that he was in. He's a grad transfer guy, right? And I walked up to him on Tuesday or Wednesday of last week because I knew he was going to be his first start. And I said, 2 A's, huh? And he like looked at me and he goes, what do you mean? I go, you got 2 A's going in grad classes. I go, when was the last time he had 2 A's in grad classes? And he just smiled. He goes, I've never had 2 A's, coach. And I'm like, I go, it's the same reason I think you'll have success on Saturday, right? Like he just has learned how we do things here. There was a point last spring where I got to have an academic meeting. It wasn't really as pleasant as that. And I kind of said, listen, this is how we do things. And if you buy into this and follow it, you'll be rewarded forever. And he's been doing that. I thought he played with incredible poise. Really the week before, he made a play on a tight end route that really jumped out to me that I'm like, okay, he's listening, you know. And, you know, he's got incredible talent. Early in his career, he was very, very well thought of at a couple other places he had been athletically, physically, and be able. I wish I had him for 2 or 3 years because I really think his potential is pretty high.
So there doesn't appear to be any clear-cut favorite in the Big Ten West. Have you talked to the team about the opportunity they have to maybe to win the division, or is it one game at a time?
Yeah, again, we've known each other going on 3 years now, right? Like we focus on the task at hand. We always talk big picture items, you know, in general, but I think, like I said at the beginning of the press conference, well, we've been talking about this for a while because it was our first opponent in the Big Ten West that we were going to play. It's the first in a little run here. Obviously, we come back play Nebraska, then Maryland, even though they're in the other division, a pivotal game, and then to come back and have Wisconsin. So 3 of the next 4 are Big Ten West. So if you try to jump to one before the other, it's never going to work.
Played a lot of your younger guys the last
Yeah.
couple of weeks. What have you learned about your couple of recruiting classes?
Yeah, we kind of actually had that conversation this morning. Monday, we like to kind of take a big picture look on Mondays, and you know, we listed several guys on both sides of the ball, offense, defense, and then special teams. Our 2 best special teams players right now are probably Jaheim Clark and Josh Kreutz. James Kreutz. And it's just those guys get contagious, and then you saw James make a couple plays on Saturday on defense as well. Like usually players break into their mold, especially defensive players on special teams units. But I couldn't be happier to get Caden Fagan and Aiden Lawfrey involved in the game plan, and to see Aiden score. I literally, you know, I felt that coming for a while, and then I literally can't even imagine what was going through Caden Fagan to see that end zone right there and to see uninterrupted, but to way to win that game. Once we took a knee, that basically sealed the victory, barring any center QB exchanges. But like we knew that was, we put ourselves in grind to get down, and for him to execute that in that moment says a lot about him.
Balance for that, with the field goal that you guys left a couple seconds on earlier in the season, just in case there was a bad exchange.
Yep.
What's the balance for understanding maybe a bad exchange could happen?
Well, a bad exchange between a quarterback and a center is completely different than a kicker. But at that point, when they took over, when we got a first down, and they still had 2 timeouts, I knew the number we needed to get to make the game on a win. And when we stopped, I believe it was 2nd and 5, they had 1 timeout. That's when I know what it was. It was the play before Josh McCray went out. We told Josh if he got a first down, he could grind a get down. And then, so Josh, I knew it because Thad and I had a conversation. And then Josh went down after that first down carry, and we put Caden Fagan in. And obviously, everybody's probably, hey, it's this big moment, 4-point play. And I said, does he know grind a get down? Which means if he gets a first down, if he takes a knee, we win the game. And they were letting him score, right? Because they knew the situation. They knew they couldn't win the game anymore. So they were trying to let him score. And I think when that safety came up and kind of did one of those passerbys, and he knew enough to get down. Yeah, somebody pointed out to me that the social media was having a fun thing that we should have scored there. And you know, I've seen teams score in that situation. Literally within our conference here in the last couple of weeks, there's been some teams that score at the end of the game, which puts you at risk. The only way we could lose that game was by scoring. Because if we scored and they we kick off, they score, and they got an onside, they get 2 scores, they could still win. And most people don't see that, but I understand it, and that's why we did it.
When I asked about Aaron about KO, he just mentioned his attitude and his resolve to kind of trust in the building and trust in the process. And that's why he had success on Saturday. Did you kind of see that when you were looking at him, that his attitude and his work ethic was always going to be?
Kanena has been awesome since he's got here. Last year he was kind of a sub-package player for us. He actually played kind of nose in a weird kind of way, what we asked him to do. I just go back to his recruitment. I remember calling Coach Lynch. I think he was committed to an Ivy League school, if I'm not mistaken, and he was going there and tell me about this kid, this coach, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get a guy that does everything right. I don't know if he's a linebacker, but I know he's an athlete who can run. He'll do everything you ask of him. Since that point, everything Coach said has panned out. I don't think we went into Saturday thinking you're going to get 40-plus plays, whatever it was, but it kind of played out that way, and he's just so conscientious, so intelligent. This past summer he went on a mission trip to Africa, and I let those 3 guys that went on that trip came back, and I let them address the team. And Kanena, his background, his family history, and everything that went into it, the way he talked up in front, I was like, okay, this guy's got leadership skills on top of that. He's also now one of our SAC leaders. We recently got to nominate a player for a Big Ten conference committee that's one player from every team, and I nominated him just because I think he represents everything that's right about us.
You evaluated the offensive line.
Yeah.
How can you help them?
Just get better. I think we'll obviously, we're always constantly looking at players that we can plug and play. But Zai and Isaiah, I think for sure on the right side feel that they can get better. I think also Hunter Whiteneck, Jordan Slaughter, between them and maybe Barlev, seeing if they can help us out in a certain capacity. But Julian Pearl played really well over on the left side. Geske probably played again his best performance at this point. So Isaiah Adams really played well at times. There were some things that I know he wants to clean up, but I couldn't be happier about the growth that they made. I know it wasn't in everything that we saw, but there were definitely a lot of things they did well. We just got to get them to be more consistent.
A few times with transfers, like you just wish you could have had them for 3 years. I mean, are there things you can tweak on the recruiting front to find these guys earlier, or are you just always going to miss somebody?
You take Nicario, like he's a guy that's from Atlanta originally. We don't really go into Atlanta heavy. It's an overly recruited city, and for us, we couldn't defend number 1 out here for them, right? And he was a blue shirt walk-on at FAU, right? Another good reason why we probably should hit Florida more and more, because they're just pure numbers down there. Either you go into a county in Florida and you can literally kind of go into a certain school and there might be 5 or 6 Division I kids for you to evaluate, and then sometimes in those rural areas you get, and every city's got 1 or 2 guys where. So we as a coaches, we really recruit the Midwest. Anybody that touches us, we recruit Florida and Jersey. And the rest of it will have to go through the portal. So I don't think Nicario would pop on our roster. Clayton Bush, again, he's another kid that's from whatever town Western Kentucky's in. I don't think he would have been up on our radar. Some of the Illinois kids that we're getting as bounce backs, I think that's for sure happening. We get contacted. We've already been contacted this year with guys that we've recruited during my window of being here the last 2 years that are at places that aren't playing, right? Or maybe they're playing, they're not happy where they're at. So I think that's the stuff that's going to start coming back to us now. We said since we got here, like, we're going to recruit every kid in the state of Illinois that we feel can help us win a championship. But we didn't win all those recruiting battles, right? So now I think you're going to begin to see kids that are a year or 2 into programs that it maybe wasn't what they thought, and maybe that we're a little bit better than they thought we were going to be. And I think that's when we're going to start to get some of those dividends.
Bret, last week you were talking about finding identity, finding your strengths. Any more clarity there after another game?
Absolutely. I think anytime especially defensively, I thought, I didn't want to see it, but when we made that defensive stand down there, 4th down, we get a stop, offense goes out, 1 play turns it over, and we go back out and stop them 4 plays in a row. To hold an offense inside the 15-yard line for 18 plays, or for 8 straight plays without a score, that's something you can hang your hat on. Offensively, I think obviously it didn't start out great. We started out good. We went down the field on a 4th and 2.5. I think we thought it was probably a 4th and 1, so we can definitely get better on what we want to get done there. But the idea was to be aggressive and try to come away with a touchdown on that first one. So that's why we went for it, but we didn't get the first down. So that put us behind a little bit there. But to be down 10-0 to have them respond and the big play hits, Griffin Moore is a guy, I give Barry a lot of credit. Barry's been in love with Griffin Moore since he got here, just to what he brings, the attitude, the skill set. Tip Ryman to hit a big pass play. I think we've been waiting for Tip to kind of break out of that moment. Reggie hit a long run. Josh really ran with purpose. I think Luke, sitting where he was a week ago, to come back and play the way he did and created some things with his feet. I think it's a different demeanor to watch that on film. Special teams, I thought David Alano came in and sent a message about what he can do with his leg. Declan Dooley, I was within a hair of a chin and putting him in. He booted 3 punts in a row last week, over 60 yards. So, like, a guy that really has been impressive and excited for us to see. So there's some things you see, but there's also some things you guys haven't seen that I think are coming.
Will continue to handle those kickoff duties moving forward?
I do, just because David Alano is a very confident player. I sat him down after week 1 and said, hey, we're going to go with Caleb as the first string field goal and kickoff, but you're right there. Just keep doing what you're doing. He had a couple good weeks, and I talked to him. I said, hey, I see it. We got 4 games that we can play with here to use you and not use your redshirt year. And he looked at me and goes, I'm not going to need a redshirt year. I don't know how many freshman kickers say that, right? So, peace up. I agree with you. Let's go. So he's just a very confident, very, very diligent, really competitive kid. Yeah.
Partner getting a personal foul penalty. Sorry.
What's that?
A partner getting a personal foul penalty.
A punter?
Yeah. When that happened, how's it go over with you?
Yeah. I mean, obviously no personal fouls are ones, and that one, obviously near the sideline, I think just got frustration, run over. But yeah, if you want to write an article about a punter getting a personal foul, go ahead.
I don't think that Bret actually meant that. Now, I know he did mean this, talking about familiarity with staff schemes against Purdue. Of course, Ryan Walters, having been the DC there last year, quote, I think these are things that come up more often than you think from the outside world. Bielema going on to say he's done this a lot in his coaching career. Well, it's a fairly new coaching career for Matt Rhule in Lincoln. Now 4 games in, and the Huskers are back to even up as they beat Louisiana Tech 28-14. Second start for Heinrich Harbaugh. He goes 8 of 17 for 107 yards through the air, but rushes for 157 on the ground, and a pair of scores for the Huskers as Nebraska gets a much-needed win at home. So after 2 straight losses to start the year, 2 straight wins for the Huskers, first against Northern Illinois and then Louisiana Tech. Now back into Big Ten play, and in a big way, as Nebraska welcomes Michigan to Memorial Stadium this coming Saturday for a mid-afternoon kick on Fox. Here's Husker headman Matt Rhule.
Obviously excited this week to come off a win. Proud of the guys for what they did. Excited to get ready to play Michigan, play a Big Ten team at home. Excellent team, number 2 team in the country for a reason. So great opportunity for us, experience for us. We'll have to see tomorrow, Heinrich and Jeff, in terms of who can, how they practice. Obviously, Heinrich didn't finish the game. We don't think it's much, but I reserve judgment until I see him. See where Jeff's at, so we have a full picture on that. And Luke Reimer, still would be questionable for the game as we sit here right now. So we'll see where he's at. With that, I'll see what questions you guys have.
Coach, how do you look at this Michigan game and kind of make the team look at it as a huge opportunity to do something really cool instead of more of a challenge going up against the number 2 team in the nation?
Yeah, we're going to play every team we play. No one came to the University of Nebraska to not play good teams. We started off with tough schedule. We played on the road the first game. We started off with had some tough breaks in that game. Had a touchdown before the half. We thought maybe you never heard us complain about anything. We're not here to complain. We're not here to make excuses. We're here to play good football and win. We went to Colorado, top 25 team at the time. Probably still are. I haven't seen it. Played them. We're just going to play every week and battle. So. This is a great opportunity. We have good players. We expect our players to play well. The game, this game will be about blocking and tackling, covering, getting open, making throws. So we'll just play it and do that for every week for 8 weeks and see what happens.
You guys are number 6 in rush offense and number 1 in rush defense. What does that say about your team to this point?
Well, it's a step in the right direction for the blueprint of what we want to do. I'm not a super big stats guy in that I think sometimes they can be misleading. But I do think it belongs. For a team that was, I think, 108th last year in rush defense, And it's not like we played, we played a Big Ten team, we played a Pac-12 team, we faced a team in Northern Illinois, so we faced some good teams. I think it's trending in the right direction. This is a team that's going to come in that's going to try to prove a point on the ground against you and run the ball at you, and so guys have to be up for the challenge. But just from a 50,000-foot view, what we're doing, the blueprint that we want to have is moving in that direction. So we just have to keep accelerating it each week.
How does it? What does it say about your practices, especially those Tuesday and Wednesday practices, and their effectiveness in achieving what you want?
Yeah, I get a little animated on the sideline sometimes, and we had a play late in the last game where one of our players overran. It's all we talk about is tracking the near hip and our angles. Overran a play, and I screamed at him like, all those spring practices and all those fall camp practices for that, And again, we had the game won. I'm kind of challenging the guys to have a little fun with them, But we believe that everything that happens in the game happens in practice, good and bad. So we're going to build this program by developing, and that comes through practice, by challenging our guys. Even something as silly as we practice on Wednesday nights the last 2 weeks down on the grass fields. We take a break, we go in the locker room, we come back upstairs, we go in the stadium. We did that for multiple reasons, but even when we went out after the weather delay, it was like, hey, this is team compete, man. Let's treat it like a Wednesday night. So I think what we're asking the guys to do is working in some ways. We just have to stay with it, until it comes fully to fruition.
The blueprint that Michigan has used to get to the playoff the last 2 years, physicality, all of that. How much is that in line with the way that you want to build this?
Everything. You think about when Coach Harbaugh first came in, was taking over, after, I can't remember if it was one or two coaches, and I don't ever want to be, but, a couple of years of not being a great program after being a great program, and he recruited. I remember I worked one of his camps when I was the head coach at the Temple. You guys probably don't remember, but he was the guy that started the satellite camps, right? And it was a big controversy at the time, right? He was the first person to go at 12:01 to someone's house in recruiting. So I did that. Then, I didn't like doing it, but I did it because he was doing it. So he's had a real impact on the game. But his sometimes I'll have recruits say to me, like, well, Coach, are we going to be good? And I'm, what, should I go to Michigan? I'm like, well, he did it, so that's what we're doing. So, so his blueprint for building that program for the way that they play, a lot of those things are similar. Obviously we want to have a little bit of an option element at times too, so there's differences, but the overall arching blueprint for being great on the O&D lines, having good quarterback play, being physical at tight end, all those things, that's what we're doing.
I know you were really proud of Anthony on the blitz pickup on the touchdown. How do you think overall he and Emmett Johnson did, when the ball wasn't in their hands on Saturday?
Yeah, I thought it was good. We just did the TV show. I know we had 3 sacks. A couple of those were just an RPO where it's not there. Like Heinrich's just got to hand the ball off or get outside the pocket and just throw it away. As I said to him, don't start being something you're not, man. Please don't be that guy. Heinrich, just if the play is not there, we as a team, I hope we've all learned, just don't make a bad play worse. So we took a sack late in the game and 4 minutes on a play we never should take a sack on. So as I tell our team, forget about this, who we're playing this week. Just as I tell our team, just because you win doesn't mean there's not the same issues that you had when you lost. And so, to answer your question, I thought they did a good job. We missed one blitz pickup, and Heinrich had to get outside the pocket and throw it away. It was a pretty exotic blitz package from Louisiana Tech, and they'll be tested this week. This is these guys on defense, Coach Minter and all those guys. They know they know protections. So we'll have to do some things with the backs, with the quarterback in the run game too on third downs maybe. But I thought our tailbacks did a good job.
Hey Coach, what kind of growth have you seen from Bryce Benhart just year over year from what you saw before and what you're seeing now?
Obviously I can't talk about too much beyond. I just what I saw from him last year. I think he's playing well. I think he's those guys are doing what's asked of them. I think when you add the option component in, that adds a lot to the offensive line. There's a lot of understanding the box counts and who the read key is and the pitch key is and all those different things. But I think Bryce is playing well, and they're certainly going to get tested this weekend with the edge players that Michigan has. But I think all those guys in the offensive line, they come in every day, they work, they battle, they get in the games, they fight. Again, because of kind of the way we play offense, you get to some games and it's a little different than what you expected, right? So they have to kind of adjust early in the game to see how people are playing us. And I think Bryce is one of those guys who does a great job at that.
What goes into having Tommy Hill play 18 snaps at receiver? How did that evolve? How did that situation evolve?
Yeah, we just I just love Tommy Hill. I think he's explosive. I think he's dynamic. I think he's tough. I think he's smart. You know, he was about to take that kickoff return to the house. Now we got the holding call. He's about to take that kickoff return to the house. He fumbled it. And he's the first guy who's like, hey, that's that's on me. That's terrible, coach. You know, so I just think when you have good players, you use them, right? So he was going to be a starting corner. He got hurt. He's kind of a rotational corner for us. He just works twice as hard. So he's helping us on offense. Initially, it was kind of as a big play threat. And then last week, we just started using him more. You know, hey, you're practicing on offense, you're practicing on defense. So if I have a good player, I'm going to try to use him as much as possible. So he has the mind. A lot of guys couldn't do it. He has the mindset and the competitiveness and the intelligence to do it.
Does he split his rep like 50-50 during practice, or does he skew one way more now?
Probably a little more on offense, depending on the period, right? You know, he's going to go over in some of the passing periods on defense. So we're you know, because I have a good staff, you know, I try to skew the periods where this is sort of more of a Tommy focus on offense, Tommy focus on defense. I have a young freshman who's redshirting. We're already starting to do it with him. Like, I mean, I just think when you have good players, you try to utilize them. So,
Coach, going up against the offensive line, going up against that run defense that you guys have, and number one right now, I mean, how much of a benefit is that preparing for what Michigan is going to throw at you guys in terms of blitzing and all that?
Yeah, I believe that iron sharpens iron. I believe you get better at practice. I think going against each other has helped us. You know, because we go against each other on, you know, even on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we compete against each other. So I think that's really helped us. You know, Michigan's as good a team up front in terms of their defensive line, in terms of getting off blocks. They're not trying to really fool you necessarily. I mean, they will pressure you. But, you know, they are as good a team in terms of playing with their hands, and you think you have a window and they get off. And so you have to be content with 2 and 3 and 4 yard runs, right? And you have to get your backs to run hard, and you know there's not going to be gaping holes against Michigan. You know, it's not going to happen. It's going to be kind of that type of a game. So you know, our guys get better from practice. I also think our guys get better from the trade teams that we have. You know, when you can recruit a bunch of really good players and they're not necessarily playing, and you're willing to rotate guys through, or you know, have guys take some scout team reps, I think it helps them, but also really helps your starters.
What have you been most impressed with along the defensive line?
These are really good questions. You guys make me think. I think on the defensive line, I think we're playing with more extension. We're getting off blocks. We're finishing line movements. You know, the communication. You know, dealing with, you know, hey, they're in this set. You know, I think all those things have gotten significantly better. I think we get off blocks better than we had earlier. So I think the guys are doing a good job of that in the run game, and they play hard. You know, that's one thing about our guys. They play really, really hard up front.
Nebraska getting closer to playing more at left tackle, or what does that picture look like right now for your left tackle?
We got Turner's a starter. Teddy has a role. You know, we just keep bringing him along every week. As you know, every week we say who gives us the best chance to win. But you know, right now they're kind of in the roles that they're in, and you know, we'll see how this week goes. But you know, Teddy's healthy. It's just a matter, you know, for a while we're just getting him back, getting his feet wet. You know, but each week we're just going to play who we think gives us the best chance that week.
How much has Lindenmeyer been kind of an unsung guy, but helped you out on getting some things going?
I thought this week it was Lindenmeyer was the guy. I mean, I think you know, he's really, really, you know, he's a big man. He's really, really good in tight, confined spaces of getting his hands and running his feet. So a lot of the runs we ran last week were off tackle runs, right? Like we ran the Teddy and Lindenmeyer at the point of attack power, off tackle power. We ran the off tackle toss play, which is, you know, I've never run that play before. It's, you know, 40-41 pitch. You know, that's Coach Ron Brown had to teach me that play, and so he's been fighting for that play forever. So I've never seen a guy happier on the sideline in my life, because that's a true old Nebraska play, right? So. But, you know, Luke's making those plays go because of his ability to block at the point of attack. And when you watch Michigan, one of the things they're great at is their defensive ends at the point of attack versus tight ends. So, we have a lot of guys that we trust. We'll use a tackle. We'll use some other guys. We have to play well, but Luke's really done a nice job for us and helped us add a component to our offense.
Coach, now that you've gotten 2 full games with Heinrich as your starter, what's impressed you most when you've gone back and watched these out there?
I think Heinrich's done a good job of obviously running the option, running the zone reads, running the speed options. A lot of them he's keeping right now, so sometimes I don't know if people know it's the option, but it is. He's just kind of keeping the ball and running for big runs. He's done a good job of communication in the huddle. The same problems are still there. We still dropped the snap on the first drive of the third quarter. We scored a touchdown. We still just reached down to, instead of falling on us, reached down to pick it up, and he scampered. So we still have a lot of coaching to do, and I can only say that because Heinrich is such a team guy. He recognizes it. So he's a young player. He's going to make good plays. He's going to make some mistakes. I just like the way he's kind of got the mindset that we preach about what's next. Like whatever happened, come back the next play. It's really great when you have guys who aren't sensitive that you can coach. You don't have to worry about how you say it to them. And Heinrich, he's that guy. So we can coach him. And I thought in the passing game, hitting that seam route to Billy in the 2 minutes before the half, I thought he did some things. Finding Fedoni on the touchdown, he did some really good things. There were some other things we left out there that I thought we could have made. So just keep accelerating him week after week. And if he's playing, we expect him to play well.
Back to the drive right before halftime. You went into halftime with 2 timeouts left. Is that how you wanted that sequence to unfold, or would you have done something differently?
No, I thought. I know it felt weird. I know the crowd was getting antsy. At the very least, I did not want to give them the ball back. I didn't want to risk them, coming after a punt. They got a good returner, so I wanted to get the first down. That play that went to the huddle and took a little bit of time. Maybe that was, maybe we would have just gotten the ball and run a play. But I felt like once we got the first down, the thing would be tilted in our favor, and we had enough timeouts to be able to manage that. Maybe would I have done it differently? I don't know. I don't really get that option, but I did feel like, we got down close enough field goal that we should make. I trust Tristan can make that field goal. Tristan's going to, we're going to keep kicking him till he gets comfortable and makes the kicks. And, I thought that was managed fine for the situation that we're, kind of where we are right now in that game. I wanted to get that first down, because when you think about it, we talk a lot about that middle eight, the last 4 minutes of the first half, the first 4 minutes of the second half. We had the ball coming out of half. We go down. If we make that field goal, we scored on the first drive coming out. That's a 10-point swing. And so, to me, that's how you win games. You go all the way back to Minnesota. We go down. We score a touchdown. We don't get it right. We end up throwing the pick, so it doesn't work out for us. But then we come out. We score the first drive coming out of half. So, those 10 and 14-point swings to me are how you win games when you're facing good teams. I was glad to see Heinrich operate in that 2 minutes. I was glad to see him find the seam because, they hadn't played really a lot of cover 3, so that we're expecting these other coverages. They come out in cover 3, he finds a seam route. So that was really good reps for him. So, as he continues, I keep telling the guys, as they continue to play well and they continue to show us what they can do, the more you open things up and let the guys go. So that was really good to see him do that.
Have you picked up with Heinrich on how people outside of here, in the stadium on Saturday and outside, feel about him, whether it's the style of play, personality, where he's from? Do you get the sense of kind of like what's happened these last 2 weeks with him?
No, I don't. I can't pay attention to that. If I ever started to pay attention to that, I would lose the moral high ground with the rest of the players. I remember years ago I was coach of the year at Temple, and we're walking down the street, and I had some guy like, "Coach, we love you," and I remember looking at Bryant saying, "Is that real?" And he said, "What?" I said, "Is that real?" He said, "No." I said, because he sat in the stadium last year and heard me booed, So, I think it's important for our players to understand, like, it's we love it when people love us. We love it when people support us, but it's hard being the starting quarterback. There's going to be a time when everyone's upset with you. You know what I mean? Like, so. The best players play, and I can't ever let it be anything other than that. Even to sense it, right? Like, it's a great story right now. I don't want to. I hope I don't see his face on. I joked around last week. I don't want to see a Harburger at one of the local restaurants. I want him to play quarterback when he's playing quarterback. And Jeff's seen it both sides too, right? Jeff. I've seen both sides of it. So that's not about the outside world. I'm not saying anybody else. I'm saying about our guys here. Like, just focus on today. the guys on our team that aren't playing to the level they're capable of, a lot of them are worried about things other than just like football. Make everything football and things will work out for you. And I show them, they think I'm corny. I show them every Kobe Bryant video possible. I show them but like, we all have a craft, master your craft. So I'm sure it's a great story for right now, but if, we'll see how it is on Sunday if he plays. So I just want him focused on football.
So how do you think he's dealt with that? Have you seen him deal with the eyes on him?
Yeah, I mean, I only see them here, right? Like, I don't see them outside. He seems like he's been great about it, but again, we talk a lot about what we think the guys should do, but they have to do it, and so seems like it's been great, but we have to kind of go from there. We have to kind of figure out what it is. I mean, I have no concerns about that with him, though. He seems like a pretty humble kid, from everything I've seen. So, but again, it's all fleeting. It's day by day, man. You gotta perform today, and you gotta perform every single day that you're out there.
Just to be clear, so your approach to quarterbacks this week is how do you manage that this week?
I play the guy I think gives us the best chance to win. So it's unique in that I have a guy that was the starter that couldn't finish the game really, and then I had another guy that was a starter this past game that couldn't finish the game. So I had two quarterbacks that couldn't finish the game. So for me to sit up here on a Monday and say this is what's happening, maybe this isn't like gamesmanship. I mean, both guys do the same thing really. So it's not like it's. I just my job is to get everybody ready because Chubba was going into the game as the number 3 and he was down there at the end of the game playing, right? So we get Chubba reps. Everything we do is reps, because I don't know who's going to play. I don't know who the hero is going to be this week. I don't know who the hero is going to be next week. So I don't know. So we just try to split the reps because we get so many reps because we're always doing multiple drills. It's the Nebraska way and we do it. So that helps us as opposed to most teams.
I'm sure the answer is all, but is there an order of concern when it comes to Michigan's offense, the thing that you're looking at first to stop and the receivers and tight ends that concern you on their team?
They're all excellent players, and I think when you look at a team like Michigan, I think you look at everybody that they have, the great backs that they have, but quarterback, is an excellent player. He can beat you with his feet. Just when you think you're going to overload the box, he can pull his own read down. He can run a quarterback bounce play. He can spin it. So. It's an excellent offense, well put together with a great offensive line, great tight ends, great backs. So they'll challenge every single aspect of everything that you do defensively because they're not afraid to say, hey, we're going to run this ball and get it to the unblocked player. And they expect the standard for them is, hey, you got to make that guy miss. And if he tackles you once, you got to make him miss the next time. And so that's the way we look at football. And when we've had big plays, it's a play like Heinrich where the guy's unblocked, he makes the miss, and he scores a touchdown. So I'd say any and all. They're good at what they do. It'll be a challenge for our guys, a good one.
What about their quarterback McCarthy though? Just what have you seen from him that makes him arguably the best quarterback in the Big Ten right now?
I think they have a great passing game. He's got tremendous protection, so he's got time and he operates on time. He knows where to go with the football. Like you play man against him, he goes to the route they think is that they designed to beat man. He attacks coverages. As I said, he's excellent with his feet too. So he's a dual threat quarterback that plays as a pro style quarterback, but when he needs to, he can run. And he's got poise. The game's never too big for him. So I've watched a lot of tape on them. I've watched them last year. I've watched them this year, and I think he's. They've beaten 2 3-1 teams. They've beaten 2 teams that are undefeated other than playing them, and they beat them pretty soundly. So he's played against good competition. He's just good at everything he does.
Does decorum remind you of anyone?
That was Matt Rhule talking about Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy. As for his own quarterbacks, injuries to Heinrich Harbaugh this past weekend, who couldn't finish the game, and Jeff Sims a couple of weeks ago. Rhule says, for me to sit up here on Monday and say I don't know, it's not gamesmanship. I actually don't really know. Says he'll try to speak to that a little bit later in the week when he sees both guys during practice. Welcome back to Big Ten Live. Rutgers 3-1 through its first 4 games of the season. Scarlet Knights with wins over Northwestern, Temple, and Virginia Tech before losing to Michigan this past weekend, 31-7. Rutgers scored the first touchdown of the game, but couldn't get anything else going against the number 2 team in the country. Let's take it to Piscataway now. Here is Rutgers head coach Greg Schiano.
Okay, guys, thanks for coming out on this rainy day. A couple things. Really excited. We have 55 players coming back from the 1976 undefeated team, which is being inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Rutgers Hall of Fame. So it'll be great to have them back and have them down on the field and all that kind of stuff and be able to see them. The other thing this week is the Coach to Cure MD week when across America coaches will be wearing the patch. It's certainly personal here. Matt DeRiggi, who is an intern for us, is battling the disease, but I think it's great that the Coach Association does that. So proud to take part in that. So now we're on to Wagner, and our goal is the same as it's been every week, to be 1-0 at the end of the Wagner season. So we're going to put a lot of work into it and then let it fly on Saturday and see where the chips fall. Questions?
Greg, just when you look at, now that you're 4 games into the season and you look at Gavin's week-to-week performances, what has stood out to you about the way that he's continued to build on each one, continued to improve, particularly when it comes to his decisiveness?
I think what Gavin's doing is he's getting a better and better understanding of exactly what we want to do on offense, what his job is, and he's trusting his training. You know, he's trained very hard all off season. I've told you guys that, with Coach Shiraka. And he's trusting that training, under the fire, and he just needs to continue to do that. He's got the ability for sure, and he's done a nice job not only running the ball, not only throwing the ball, but running the ball, and being a complete quarterback. So we just need to keep building on that.
You start the season with 3 crucial home games. You just played a very physical game against Michigan. Your next 2 Big Ten opponents are coming off byes. You don't get a bye till the 8th week of the season, 9th week of the season. Does this game against Wagner come at or the right time for you guys, just kind of a good, I don't want to say stopgap, but it's an FCS opponent. Does it come at the right time for you guys?
Well, I like continuing to play, and when I talk about Wagner's team, I have the utmost respect for Coach Masella. I've known him a long time. He's a guy, when I was breaking into the business, was one of the guys I looked up to, and he's done a really good job of mixing the portal and high school recruiting. So he's got transfers. Last time they played here, they were coming off a 21-game losing streak. Now they're coming off a 2-game winning streak. They're sitting on top of their league in first place. So he's done an incredible job building that program. And they have players on that team that when I watched the tape, I said, you know what, this is going to be a battle. And I don't know why I would think anything else. I mean, you're looking at the guy that early in his career, was beat by a BC or what do they call it, FCS team, and it was hard, right? So trust me, this week our preparation will be as hard as it's been. Just a little bit harder because that's what you do each week. You try to out prepare yourself, but we know exactly what we're walking into, and we got to get ready.
Coach, Ireland Brown, Gus Zielinskis splitting time at center. What do you make of their progress and where the battle stands in that room at this time?
No, it's just competition. Gus has played considerably more than IB so far. It doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way. It just means that that's how it's played out in practice each week and how it's played out in the game. I think competition is going to bring the best to the top, but we're going to continue to have competition in several spots on the offensive line.
Just with Christian Dremel obviously having a bigger role in the offense this year, what have you seen from him the time that you've gotten to know him till now, in a way he's kind of built up to this and continued to improve and get this opportunity?
Christian's always been, from the day I arrived, an incredibly hard worker, a guy who's loves football, intensely focused. He's had some tough luck with injuries. He's gotten to the point where he's ready to go, and then he had some freaky things. So I'm really happy for him. I'm happy for us because he's performing at a high level, but I'm happy for him because he deserves it. There's not many people that, if any, that work harder than he does.
Just to piggyback on the question about Gavin Wimsatt,
Where do you think he is in his overall development as a quarterback, and what do you think the next step is, the next tier of that development?
That's a hard one. Where is he in the overall? Like, no one knows how good someone can get, right? I just look at Gavin's trajectory. As long as he keeps the nose up, eventually he's going to get to a level where we all want him to. He's learning every single game. I'm not going to get into specifics, but there's some things on the tape that you say, oh, great. That's something we've been talking to him about, and he got it. And, that's what we need to continue to do. You can't have any backslides. You can't have any progress halters right now because he's on the climb, and he's got to continue to stay that way. And I'm confident that between he and Coach Shiraka that will continue.
We're another year into the transfer portal era, and this is the 5th game of the season, so it's redshirt tracking time. Having another year in your belt, understanding the transfer portal, does that change your calculus at all on whether you will redshirt guys or not, or is it a matter of they can transfer at any time? It's less of a priority than it used to be.
Well, you just said a word that sends shivers down my spine. Calculus. That was one that I didn't enjoy. It's a big fat red book. I had to take it in the business program, and let me tell you something. I had a tutor every night, and I got by the skin of my teeth. So let's not use that word. But yeah, I constantly track who's playing, how we, the day of the red shirt, who knows? I don't know. If you recruit the right players, are they going to stay for 5 years? Well, maybe, maybe not. So there's so many things to balance. I don't think there's ever a sure thing, though. I think you just have to go with what you believe. But we track it all. Yeah, I have a list every week. How many games each guy's played in, that whole deal. They do know the rule change now. They can play. They can play in 4, but then they can also play in any postseason games, and they don't count. So that's a big change. So you don't have to leave one. That aggravated me last year, though, because we didn't know if we were going to be in the postseason or not, and you kept watching it, and then retroactively they said, well, you know what, the bowl game doesn't count. So that, hopefully this is what it is. It's 4, and then you can play in the postseason.
Coach, what have you seen out of Jaquay Jackson's performance so far this season, just how he continues to play within the whole of the offense?
Jaquay's getting better every week. Unfortunately, he had a little injury during training camp that slowed him down. I wish he had had all those practice repetitions to get in the groove with the offense. He didn't start here until the summer, right, midsummer, because of the portal and his recruitment. So it's not like he was here all spring where he got, cumulative repetitions. So then we get to training camp and he's doing well, and then he has he's forced to take a little break because of injury, and that, I don't think we're seeing yet the guy we're going to see here in the next 4 weeks. I think he's going to continue to get better and better, which is good, I guess. But I would have liked to have had it, earlier.
You talked about getting Samuel Braun up to game speed, getting in shape. How close is he to being the Sam Brown that we saw last season?
Well, I think, I don't know if it's last season or but I look at it as, is he ready? Has he had enough repetitions that you can go in and know that he'll do things muscle memory and not have to think about it? Because when you're thinking about stuff that you need to be able to do just naturally, you open yourself up to 2 things. You open yourself up to injury, number 1, because you're not playing as fast as you usually do. You also open yourself into not performing the way you're capable. I think he's real close. This will be this week of practice now. I think it'll be the 3rd consecutive. That's getting into that sweet spot now where hopefully he can play more.
Along those lines, too, getting Aaron Young back the other day. I mean, how big is that for the offense? Not just because of obviously more depth in the running back room, but also his versatility. And I'm assuming he has to get built back up.
Yeah, he is. He's getting built back up as we speak. He does bring great versatility. I think he can do a lot of different things. And as he gets, more and more in that zone, so to speak, I think there'll be more roles for him to play.
I got a D in pre-calculus when I went here, just for the record.
Did you?
It's a
A
big
D,
reason,
huh?
It's part of the reason why I'm here.
Yeah, I got you. Maybe me too.
Fair enough. We touched on the offensive line rotation. You guys changed guys in every spot except for left tackle against Michigan. And understanding that every decision is what you guys think gives you guys the best chance to win, and understanding, I think you've said that if you could have 5 guys, that would be the ideal scenario. What are some of the reasons why you guys have to rotate? Is it fatigue? Is it performance related? Just what are some of the things that you see coming up that you guys have to, bring guys in and out?
Yeah, probably Probably the two things you said, fatigue and performance, right? Those two things are what would cause someone to be subbed. So, yeah, that's really a good summary.
All right, Greg Schiano and Rutgers certainly was an uphill climb last week against Michigan. Going to get a lot easier this week against Wagner, but still watching that development of quarterback Gavin Wimsatt. According to Schiano, I think what Gavin is doing, he's getting better and better at understanding exactly what we want to do on offense, what his job is, and he's trusting his training. And in fact, he has trained very hard, end quote. What an unbelievable Saturday night comeback for Northwestern. Outscored Minnesota 21-0 in the fourth quarter, then went to overtime and beat the Gophers 37-34 in one of the most unlikely come-from-behind victories you will ever see. And so the Wildcats, left for dead really before the year even started, certainly after the loss to Rutgers, have now won 2 of their last 3 games and sit at 2-2. Obviously a very tough ask coming up this Saturday against the number 6 team in the country, Penn State. For now, though, the glow still on the face of interim head coach David Braun as we head to Evanston and listen in.
Excited to be back in our routine. The team was back this morning to review the Minnesota game, and what a great opportunity to clean some things up and identify areas that we need to continue to improve while also, celebrating a lot of the, qualities and traits that, we strive to put on full display as a program. The resiliency, the grittiness, the way that our guys played for 4 quarters. Had a conversation with the group today. That's the expectation. That's the standard. That's what this program is all about. And great opportunity for us to clean things up, but also had a glimpse to some of the things that this team is capable of moving forward. The guys will return this afternoon as we get into Penn State prep. We're excited to have an opportunity to practice today. We have one heck of a football team coming in here, very talented, very well coached. Coach Franklin clearly has done an outstanding job within all elements of their program from a recruiting standpoint, coaching in all 3 phases of the game. They are playing at a really high level right now. So we're excited about the opportunity. Know it's going to be quite a task, but certainly very, very looking forward to returning to Ryan Field on Saturday.
David, what changed for your offense from not just the week before against Duke, but also from the first half and in part of the third quarter into the fourth quarter?
Yeah, no, it's in the first half. There were a lot of self-inflicted wounds, through penalties, and there were moments where we were really moving the ball in the first half. Just unfortunately couldn't get out of our own way. I do think even though the second half involved, a very explosive passing game. The fact that we were able to move the line of scrimmage and establish the run game, early, played a factor in that. The protection out of the offensive line was a huge factor. Obviously, Ben, started to really put on full display some of the things that we see out of him in practice, every day and had seen throughout fall camp. But I think you see a group and a unit that was just, is starting to find a rhythm and gelling. And the questions continued to be about Ben, but I think we saw a group around Ben that was fully supporting him, protecting him in the pocket. Guys out on the perimeter making some big plays, and at that point, there was a lot of confidence and a lot of rhythm, and it was really neat to see what that group was able to do, especially in the fourth quarter.
Coach, Ben was limping late against Minnesota. He also left UTEP in the second half. Is there any concern about a lingering injury, or is this more standard wear and tear of playing quarterback at this level?
I think it's just part of playing quarterback at this level. Ben finished the game, showed his toughness, his grittiness. Back in the facility today, going through his typical routine, and excited to move on to Penn State.
Coach,
What have the last 36 hours been like since the end of that game for you, for this team, and what has been the outreach from alumni of this program and the Northwestern community?
Yeah, I mean the outpouring of support has been really neat. You know, everywhere from alumni, former players, parents of current players, mentors, people that I've coached with, high school buddies. I mean, the list goes on, and you know, it's really neat. But the moments I cherish the most, honestly, are the time with my family post game, the time with our players post game. You know, a little bit of a reprieve Sunday morning, you know, with my family, breakfast with the boys. And, you know, you walk back into this facility and it's like, hey, what do we need to learn from this last one? And it's a sprint to get ready for Penn State and get ready for practice this afternoon. So as much as there was, you know, a great deal of enjoyment and all that, it's been, you know, that's part of the Big Ten schedule. On to the next. So awesome Saturday evening. So cool to see. The outpouring of support from so many different areas of the Northwestern community, and you know, really excited to continue to channel all this positive energy and you know, put that into our preparation for Penn State.
Coach, you talked after last game about your passion and the fire that you have and competitive spirit, and you expect, you know, your players to play with that level of enthusiasm. Do you feel like they have that, or do you feel like that is motivating them, your kind of passion, or yeah, just like in games like that?
That is a great question. There's no doubt in my mind that is within our young men and burns, you know, at a very high level. What I would say is, you know, this group is such a group of high character, quality young men that want to do right. They want to please. They want to do what they're being coached to do. And at times, sometimes that can get in your way of just really cutting it loose and going and playing free. And again, you know, I truly believe that God has gifted me with patience and poise. And you know, I've done my best to put that on full display over the course of time that I've been at Northwestern. But I feel like I've also been gifted with an intense competitive spirit, and you know, I think that's allowed me to find success in a lot of different areas of my life. And you know, I really started to get a sense that post Duke, I needed to do a better job of letting that side of who I am, you know, be on full display more often. And I think all that has done is help pull that out of our own guys. Things that already existed within their competitive demeanor and who they are. I think when they see a coach that's, you know, kind of letting it rip and coaching free with a great deal of passion and energy and love for the people that I'm around in the game that we get to play and get to coach, you certainly hope that is embodied within your team. And the neat thing is we didn't just see that on Saturday. We saw that in the way that this group practiced on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in the preparation for Minnesota.
Half of games this year, it feels like the offense in particular has kind of been a little slower. You guys have started to pick things up in the second half. What kind of tweaks are you expecting to make to kind of get more points on the board early in the game so you guys don't have to overcome a 21-point deficit in the fourth?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I think there needs to continue to be focus on just consistent execution, because there's moments where we're moving the ball, but again, a holding call or a TFL or a sack, all of a sudden that drive stalls out. And then, you know, 2 drives later, you're back in rhythm, negative play, that drive stalls out. And again, you know, everyone's going to get sick of me saying this, but some of it comes back to complementary football as well. Defensively, you know, we're able to get a stop on the first drive against Minnesota. But after that, did not play our brand of football. And again, you can see what starts to happen in the third and fourth quarter when you start to stack a 3-and-out followed by a 5-play drive and the ball's punted, and all of a sudden that momentum starts to build. That only helps the offense get in that rhythm. So, you know, on both sides of the football, we need to find, you know, some of that mojo in the first quarter to get going, and I think that only helps an offense continue to turn positive plays into positive drives and points.
Coach, last week after Duke, you said you regretted not going for that 4th and inches to open the game. Very similar situation this week against Minnesota, 4th and inches near midfield. Was there a consideration to go for it, or were you punting that ball no matter what?
That is a great question. Punting that ball no matter what, and strictly coming from a standpoint of, with the operation that we were dealing with in Duke being a tempo operation, a certain style of play, the level that quarterback had been playing with at Duke, that was an opportunity for us at Duke to be aggressive, to find some ways to get an early drive, get points on the board. At that point in the game against Minnesota, it felt like, the way that Minnesota operates offensively, that it could really be a game that, possessions were limited, field position was going to play a critical role, and points were going to be at a premium. That proved to not be the case, but at the time of the decision, felt very confident in the decision that we went with.
Coach, you mentioned after yesterday's game that the athletic department and support staff have worked really diligently to make adjustments to how you do game day. What have been some of those adjustments? It's been a transition directly from our team hotel over to Ryan Field. It's been returning to, instead of a locker room setup that, had been utilized COVID and on in more of the Welsh Ryan, that atrium area back into the old locker room. I think, the way that we had structured things in the past was really well thought out. But there had just been some requests from our leadership and our players that, they were looking for a new rhythm at home, and, didn't want to be going from hotel over to the facility, back over to Ryan Field. Just wanted to kind of have a direct line from the hotel over to Ryan Field. And we listened, we took feedback, and that staff, we're talking about throwing a curveball at that staff, early August. And I think a lot of people, in athletics easily could have looked at us and said, you know what, Dave, we're going to keep this status quo the way that it has been. And they said, you know what, whatever you need. And they've gone to work. They've worked really diligently along with, our director of football operations, Alex Nisley, and created an environment that we were able to replicate in fall camp. And I think our guys have really found it to be conducive to their routine on game day.
Coach, you talked about the confidence and consistency you saw from Bryce Kurtz before Saturday's game. Is that difficult for any player, especially with the injuries that Bryce has gone throughout his college career, to even just find that consistency and even just have confidence to be able to play at the high level that he did on Saturday?
Yeah, no, I think it goes both ways. I think especially at the wide receiver position, both those things at times can be hard to come by, simply from a standpoint of sometimes your consistency may be showing up, playing and play out, but your opportunity for actual production may not, just depending on the coverage a team is playing or, the quarterback's progression and reads. So again, his production was no surprise to us, but just really neat to see all that hard work and consistency in practice and level of confidence that young man carries day in and day out, come to fruition in an incredible game and production, especially when the game was on the line.
I think Penn State's allowed, 5 touchdowns in 4 games, 200 yards a game, something like that. What are you seeing from that defense now that has made them so effective?
They're aggressive. They're balanced. You can't find a weakness on that defense. Really well coached, willing to play tight coverage, man coverage, mix in some different looks, find ways to, put stress on you on first and second down, not just on third down. You see a group that's well coached and plays well off one another. They're playing at a really high level in all 3 phases. Defensively, very impressive.
Coach, your 3 safeties, Devin, Coco, and Jaheim, all made big plays in the run game for negative losses. What have you seen from them as primary support players playing downhill in more of a traditional cover 4 safety type role?
Yeah, it's been fun to see. Obviously, there's been times that the safeties here at Northwestern have been very involved in the run fits, prior to my arrival. In terms of the structure that we have now, a little different than it has been in the past. But those guys, they knew, from the first install meeting, in spring ball that they were going to play a critical role in run support.
those guys have really stepped up, and all of them are doing an outstanding job making that big play on that pressure in the second half. You turn on the film and you watch Coco play right now. I mean, he just plays with a different tempo, demeanor, and speed. You want to start talking about that fire that burns deep inside you. I mean, that young man knows his purpose. He knows his passion. He loves this place. He loves his teammates, and he tangibly puts that on film. It's really, really proud of the way that those guys are playing right now.
Penn State last week and possessed the ball for over 45 minutes. In terms of ball control, not too dissimilar from the Rutgers game a couple weeks ago. Just curious how you've learned from that, whether in your prep on both sides of the ball or in areas of practice that you've emphasized, how you've learned from that and how you're kind of going to apply that this week.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really cliche, and it's a great question, but so much of it comes back to, some.
So David Braun was asked if he's had discussions about losing that interim tag with a terrific job he's done so far. He said, not yet. As I've said before, it can be an easy distraction or a trap to fall into to allow your mind to wander. He did say that he and his wife were put in this role for a reason. Right now, that reason working out pretty well after the unbelievable comeback win this past Saturday night in overtime against Minnesota. And that is going to do it for this Monday Coaches Press Conference edition of Big Ten Live. Don't forget, coming up on Tuesday at 1 Eastern, 12 Central, the Tuesday edition comes your way. We'll hear from James Franklin, Mike Loxley, and Kirk Ferentz. Until then, for everyone here at the Big Ten Network, I'm Rick Pizzo. Thanks for being with us.